At the very beginning of the story, we see Jay. Today, he has transferred to Higher Value International School. Seeing such a beautiful and modern school, his eyes pause for a moment. In his mind, he says, "Wow, the name is cool, and the school is just as beautiful. I hope I won't have to deal with any trouble this time." Taking a long breath, he gathers courage inside himself, then slowly walks into the school. Seeing the smart students around, he feels like they all belong to rich families. The campus is so beautiful that it fills his heart with joy. As soon as he enters, he stops in surprise after seeing an escalator. Right then, he suddenly bumps into a boy. After that, he goes to the reception and asks where the Section E building is. But the girl at the desk stiffens her face the moment she sees him, because Section E means the place of problematic students, those who always cause trouble. Jay thinks in surprise, why did she react like that after seeing me? What's the big deal if I'm in Section E? I thought I wouldn't face any trouble after coming here. But as soon as he reaches their department, he is shocked. The place is old, dirty, and messy, nothing like the rest of the school. Entering inside, he calls a few boys, but they don't even pay attention to him. Suddenly, his eyes fall on a handsome boy named Watson. Seeing him, Jay's heart freezes. He asks, "Is this room 503? The number seems a bit crooked," Watson says coldly. "This isn't it. Go to the main building," Jay says in confusion. "But they showed me this place." Right then, Watson shouts, "Are you deaf? Get out of here!" With fear and anger mixed together, Jay quickly leaves the place. And behind him, the boys laugh at the prank they played on him. Reaching the main building, Jay calms himself down, saying, "Relax. Don't let that lollipop jerk get into your head. I'll deal with him later. This is the real environment here. That place didn't even feel like a school." Then Jay mistakenly enters Section C and sits down. As soon as he sits, the class president Rocky comes to introduce himself and asks to see the registration form. After seeing the form, Rocky says, "You came to the wrong class. This is Section C. You're supposed to go to Section E." The whole class starts laughing. In an instant, Jay realizes it was Watson who messed with him. Angry, he stands up and goes straight to Section E again. Entering the class, he finds terrible chaos inside. Their class teacher sees the new student and welcomes him to Section E with a smile, asking everyone to greet him. But no one listens. The whole class silently sits. Finally, when the teacher asks the class president to stand, Watson gets up. Seeing him, Jay's anger rises again. The teacher asks, "Any questions about the new student?" Watson directly asks, "Are you still a virgin?" The entire class bursts into laughter. Jay angrily says, "The teacher told you to ask a formal question. Looks like your IQ is very low." Watson asks again, "When are you leaving our Section E?" Jay coldly replies, "Better tell me when you're leaving our planet." Watson says, "It'd be better if you leave first." Jay narrows his eyes and says, "I'm the only one who can make you vanish from this world." As their argument escalates, the teacher stops them. After that, whichever seat Jay tries to take, the boys reserve it. Forced to sit in a corner, he thinks, "Where are the girls of this class? Maybe they're absent today." Then he stops thinking about it. While class continues, Watson crumples a paper and throws it at his head. Jay gets up angrily to ask who did it. Immediately, papers start flying at him from all directions, but he can't catch anyone even once. When he shouts in anger, the teacher asks what happened. Jay says, "Someone is throwing trash at me." But before the teacher can say anything, the class ends. As soon as the teacher leaves, the entire class starts throwing paper at him together. Frustrated, Jay runs outside the classroom. At lunchtime, when he goes to the canteen to get food, he sees a few girls from Section C gossiping about him. Later, they ask him to sit with them, but Jay steps away when he sees Eris. Eris looks at him and says, "You'll fit very well in Section E." Jay starts wondering where he should eat. He tries to fix some benches outside the class to sit, but just then, the boys from Section E run over and snatch all his food. Watson stands at a distance with a devilish grin. Jay takes out his own lunch to eat. Then a boy named Felix comes and introduces himself. But even that food gets taken away by someone else. Jay angrily says, "Don't you guys have any manners?" Felix laughs and says, "We're banned from going to the canteen. So when they see food, they can't control themselves." Jay says, "Can't they bring their own food?" Felix says, "You're forgetting their Section E. They're not that type." Then when Jay takes out his last packet of chips, Felix grabs it and runs, "Told you, we are that type." This makes Jay even angrier. When a teacher named Miss Sandy enters the class, she gets irritated seeing the dirty surroundings and says, "Does this look like a classroom? Clean up all this trash quickly, or I won't take the class." Hearing this, the whole class begins jumping with joy, because that means the teacher won't be taking their class. Miss Sandy adds in a strict tone, "If I come back and still find the class in this filthy state, you all will be in trouble." As soon as she leaves, everyone starts leaving the classroom one by one. Jay stops them and says, "The teacher told us to clean the class. Where are you all going? Orson looks back and mockingly says, hurry up and clean the room. And then he pushes the door shut, locking Jay inside. Jay gets extremely angry and starts shouting, but no one comes back. Eventually, he calms himself down and begins cleaning the room alone. While cleaning, his eyes go toward their lockers. Seeing the locker belonging to a girl named Ella, he gets curious and is about to open it when Watson comes and stops his hand, saying angrily, clean the room. This starts another argument, and Watson threatens him in a frightening tone. If you don't shut up, I'll make you shut up my way. Jay actually gets scared by Watson's behavior. Just then, Felix shows up, sees the two of them, and teasingly says, you two look like a married couple. After school, Jay returns home. He used to live at his aunt's house because he didn't have parents, so he always felt like a burden staying there. That's why he says, I'm sorry for staying here like this, Auntie. His aunt gently replies, I've given you a second chance. This time, don't get involved in any trouble at school. Promise me that. Then there won't be any issues. Jay lowers his head and says, I won't cause any trouble anymore. No matter what happens, I will graduate. Then Auntie tells him that his grandmother is feeling a bit better than before. The next day at school, during lunch, Jay avoids everyone and goes to sit on the second floor of the building. Taking out his food, he says, no one can bother me here. No one can take my food, especially that lollipop jerk. But suddenly, he notices Watson sleeping in one corner of the room, and Orson comes in and suddenly starts eating Jay's food. Then both of them sit and eat together while Jay stares in disbelief. Annoyed, Orson says, stop staring at me. Jay quickly says, I wasn't staring, and why don't you get food from the canteen? Orson replies coldly, we're not allowed in the canteen. Later, when Jay goes to class, the boys give him a list of food and tell him to bring them. Jay gets angry and says, why should I bring food? Who's going to pay? Your dad? Watson says in a serious tone, I don't like you at all. If I want, I can kick you out of this class right now. If you want to stay here, you have to listen to me. Jay angrily replies, well, I don't like you either since the first day I felt like punching you in the face. You guys messed with the wrong girl. Then he suddenly asks Orson, are you doing all this because of Ella? Watson instantly stares sharply and says, don't cross the line, or you'll regret it. When Jay goes to get food from the canteen, he meets a boy named Kiko, whom Jay likes. After leaving there, Jay looks for a place to eat secretly, but one by one, everyone shows up, and to shut their mouths, Jay has to share his food with them. Just then, Yuri arrives, another classmate of theirs. He had brought food for his friends. Seeing Jay, he asks the boys, who is this girl? They reply, she's our new classmate. Yuri says in surprise, how did Watson allow her? Then he says directly to Jay, why are you still here? When are you going to leave? And why are you treating my classmates like dogs? Jay quickly says, hey, I was giving them food. Then Felix says, Yuri, you were gone for 2 weeks, and we couldn't eat anything, so she was giving us food. Then Yuri walks toward Watson, while Felix starts telling Jay about Yuri. Jay asks Sin why he hadn't come to school for so long. Felix says he was suspended from school for entering the canteen. Then Yuri meets Watson and the others and starts chatting. Yuri says, so that girl is Jay, right? Watson says in a serious tone, yeah, she's making me weak. She's completely different. No matter what, we have to kick her out of this section. Yuri says in shock, didn't you scare her? Watson replies in frustration, I tried, but she's really different. That's why we need to be stricter. Don't you remember what happened last time when we had a girl in Section E? That's why something must be done this time. Later, Jay meets Angelo, her aunt's older son. She asks him about their school's Section E. Angelo says there wasn't a Section E in the previous school, but because of some troublemaking students, a new Section E was created. If any girl went there, they transferred her to another section because girls supposedly couldn't be as unruly as the boys. Angelo tells her that if she has trouble, she can get good grades and move to another section. But Jay confidently says, I don't have any problem. I'll stay right here. On her way back, Jay sees one of her classmates fighting with some boys from another school. The boy tells her his name is Sin. He starts bragging about himself, claiming his IQ is 160. Jay says, so what am I supposed to do? Give you a medal? Then Jay asks him, are you guys really not allowed in the canteen? And why not? Sin says, I'll tell you, but you have to buy me food. Jay agrees and says she'll buy him food. Sin then starts explaining, last year there was a girl. She and Watson were in a relationship, Jay says in surprise. You mean Ella? Sin nods and says, yeah, she was also in Section E, but somehow she transferred out to another section. She had strong connections in the school, and even then Watson couldn't understand why Ella was acting that way, why she was ignoring him. One day, Watson suddenly saw Ella kissing another boy in the canteen. Seeing that, Watson got extremely angry and destroyed the whole place. He was mentally broken. He suffered a lot, and from that day, the entire Section E has been banned from the canteen, Jay says angrily. Instead of banning Section E, they should have banned those two who were kissing inside the canteen. Sin nods and says, no one could ban Ella. That's why Watson doesn't like new people entering our section, Jay says in irritation. If they kissed, how is that my fault? He treats me like everything is my fault. He dragged all of you into his craziness, Sin warns Jay. Don't tell anyone that I told you all this, and get yourself prepared, because Watson never backs off. Jay confidently replies, you guys should know I don't back off either. Then the two of them return to class. Meanwhile, Yuri and Watson start planning how to bother Jay. During lunch, when Jay buys food for Sin, Sin becomes happy and says, from now on, we're friends, but don't tell anyone. It's our secret. Jay goes to that same room today to eat, but Watson isn't there. Just then, she finds a love letter there with the words Mika to Calix. Finding it, Jay becomes happy and puts it in her bag to read later. After returning to class, Jay realizes she can't get up from her seat. Someone has put glue on it. When she asks Sin to check, Sin looks and says, you're stuck to the glue. The whole class collapses laughing. Jay shouts in anger, how can you guys stoop this low? Watson comes forward and says, I told you before, if you don't follow me, you'll regret it. This is just the beginning. Jay screams even louder in fury. When everyone leaves the class, Jay asks Sin for help, but everyone warns Sin, don't do it, otherwise Watson will get angry at you. Sin, afraid, backs away and wants to go home. Then Jay calls Felix. Hey Felix, you owe me. Jay says, I gave you food so many times. Hurry up and help me. Then Felix and Sin finally agree to help her. Felix holds her steady while Sin pulls the bench hard. But while pulling, her uniform tears and Jay screams in rage. Then Sin takes off his jacket and gives it to her. While leaving, Sin says, I told you don't mess with Watson. Jay replies, and I told you I don't back off. They messed with the wrong girl. Burning with anger, Jay goes straight to Watson and says, hey Watson, you think if you do all this, I'll leave the section? Then she takes the jacket tied around her waist and throws it straight onto Watson's face. Everyone becomes stunned seeing this. Jay glares sharply and says, the game begins now. Saying that, she walks away. Yuri instantly realizes this girl is not ordinary. Any other girl would have run away from Section E by now. On her way back, Jay thinks to herself, the game has begun. But for some reason, it feels like the king of idiots will try to bother me even more now. Then Sin calls her, telling her she has reached her house. When Jay tries to return his jacket, Sin says he doesn't need it. Jay thanks him and goes inside just when the boys who fought Sin earlier show up. They say, if you don't come with us now, we'll take away that girl who lives with you when we get the chance. With no other option, Sin is forced to go with them. Meanwhile, when Jay enters the house, we see that boy named Eris from school, the one who said Jay would fit well in Section E. Actually, he is Jay's aunt's younger son. But Eris never liked Jay. Just then, Angelo tells Eris, from tomorrow you two will go to school together. Hearing this, Eris becomes even angrier. In the morning, Jay apologizes to Eris because she realizes Eris feels uncomfortable going to school with her. Eris says coldly, your apology won't change anything. Get in the car quickly. Then he adds, my anger will take time to go away. Do whatever Angelo said, quietly. Meaning, there was some issue between them before. Reaching class, Jay gives Felix a chocolate for helping her yesterday. Just then, Yuri and Watson arrive and hand her the food list again, saying, this is our order. Jay says irritably, what made you think I'll listen to you? I didn't listen before either. Watson then says in a threatening tone, if we get too hungry, it's possible we'll eat you instead. Hearing that, Jay genuinely shakes in fear. So, she is forced to go to the canteen to get their food. On the way, she bumps into Eris. Eris angrily asks, what's that? Is that for Section E? Then he says, put all that back and leave. But Jay apologizes and takes the food to Section E's class. Everyone immediately jumps on the food, while Jay keeps staring at Watson with an annoyed expression. Then Felix calls her to sit with them. As soon as Jay sits, everyone shouts with joy. They have started seeing Jay as a friend. Meanwhile, Watson and Yuri quietly slip away to plan something new. Jay then gets Sin's phone number from Felix because Sin hasn't come to school since that day. In class, the teacher sees Fernandez next to Jay's name and asks, are you related to Eris Fernandez? Jay says, yes. Watson immediately asks, what is Eris to you? Jay says calmly, he's my cousin. Hearing this, both Watson and Yuri become shocked, but the rest of the class gets angry, though the reason isn't clear yet. After class, Jay finds no one talking to her. She checks her smell and thinks, do I stink? Because just a while ago everyone was being nice to her. She calls out to Felix to give him chocolate, but Felix avoids her and walks outside. Watson even walks past her as if Jay doesn't exist. This leaves Jay completely confused. Back home, she calls Sin and says, "Why are you missing school? What happened to you?" Sin says, "I don't feel well. Why? Do you miss me?" Jay rolls her eyes and says, "Just tell me when you're coming back to school." Sin replies, "I'll come next week." Jay asks, "Why did you miss so many days?" Sin says, "Just like that? I'm a little sick." Jay suspiciously says, "Does anyone miss that many days for being sick?" Sin hangs up without saying anything, because that night those boys had beaten Sin brutally. Then when Eris enters the room, Jay asks him, "Did you do something against Section E?" Eris says in irritation, "Is there anything to do with them?" Jay quickly says, "They're not talking to me today. They treated me differently since they found out I'm from the Fernandez family." Eris calmly says, "I don't know anything. Go tell Angelo since he's also a Fernandez." Jay says, "But those two who were kissing inside the canteen should have been banned instead of Section E." Eris says impassively, "I have no idea. Why don't you ask them directly what their problem with you really is?" Then we see the boys of Section E searching Jay's records from her previous school, and then they find out Jay had stabbed a boy at her old school with a pencil. Hearing this, everyone is stunned. Yuri exclaims, "That's exactly why she's perfect for our Section E, and even after so much harassment, she still hasn't run away." Another boy adds, "I've learned another thing. Jay's mother and Eris's mother are stepsisters. Jay's family is completely broken. Her father is absent, and her mother married many times. She grew up with her grandmother, but the interesting thing, Eris's mother adopted her." Hearing this, Yuri immediately says, "So maybe she's spying on us for Eris." Watson sneers, "Do you really think Eris would send some dumb girl into our section?" Even though everyone feels bad knowing Jay's situation, none of them want Jay to stay in Section E. Sitting in class, Jay thinks to herself, "They've been ignoring me for a week. They must be planning something big against me." When the teacher leaves, he tells them to clean the room. And today again they lock Jay inside the class and leave, making her clean. Watson stands outside and tells everyone, "We'll bother her until she chooses to leave Section E by herself." Jay hears everything from inside and says, "That will never happen." Then Orson comes and throws trash at her in front of the door. Jay shouts angrily, "Do you get so much fun from doing this?" Orson laughs and says, "Yes, I do." Jay then starts throwing trash back at him in anger. Yuri comes and stops them both. Jay says, "I will not clean the class under any circumstances." Yuri says, "Fine, we'll all clean together." Then others complain, "Why drag us into your fight, bro?" Watson says, "I'm the class president. I never clean." Jay roars, "Just because you're class president doesn't mean you're exempt from cleaning. You started the trouble, you should be the one to clean." Watson says coldly, "I'll make it dirtier. What are you going to do about it?" When it looks like they might fight, Yuri tells Watson, "Come on, let's clean. We still don't know what this girl's real intention is here." Saying that, Yuri locks the two of them inside the room. Then Jay and Watson clean the room together. Jay asks, "Where's that boy named David?" Watson says, "David was the real class president." Jay frowns, "So, you stole his place, right?" Then she asks, "When you found out I'm Eris's cousin, why did you ignore me?" Watson gives no answer and silently focuses on the work. The next day on the way to school, Jay sees Sin and gets out of the car, saying, "Finally you came to school. You look weak. And why are there so many marks of beating on your body?" Sin evasively avoids the question. Then Jay says, "Sin, did something happen in Section E? When everyone found out I'm Eris's cousin, they started treating me strangely." Sin nods and says, "I heard." Jay pauses and asks, "So, will you ignore me too?" Sin quickly replies, "Of course not." Hearing this, relief spreads across Jay's face. She says, "If others see you talking to me," Sin confidently replies, "I'll handle it." Jay thinks to herself, she really likes this boy, Sin. He's so cute and small, and his smile is strangely beautiful. She also likes Watson, but she doesn't know why she always prefers supporting characters more than lead characters. Anyway, the two of them reach class and see Watson and David, the real class president, fighting. Jay panics. "Let's go from here. We should get out of here quickly." Sin calmly says, "Wait, let's watch the fight first." Jay irritably asks, "Why aren't you stopping them?" Sin says, "They'll never listen to us." Then Jay, angry, picks up a chair and slams it down to stop them. Watson grabs her and says, "If that chair hit my body, do you want me in the hospital?" The two are about to start fighting again, but Yuri steps in and says, "We'll hold elections again. Whoever wins will be class president. No cheating this time. The winner will be our class president." Watson says, "I agree." Jay says, "But make sure nobody throws chairs during the election." Jay angrily asks, "Why would I go smash a chair during the election?" Yuri then says, "Then the election will be after class." When Jay asks Sin about the election, Sin replies mysteriously, "Wait, it's a surprise for you." Pressed, Sin says, "It's like a match. You'll see. Just know one thing, David was our real class president." Then Jay asks, "Why were you placed in Section E? Now you have to tell me." Sin lowers his head and says, "I also had a fight. It was also about kissing." Jay is shocked. "You're only 14. Don't you think you're too young to be kissing?" Sin laughs. "You say it like I'm an old woman." Just then they see a notice. Jay has also been banned from the canteen along with Section E. Until now, only Section E was banned. But from today, Jay is banned too. Seeing this, Jay says in surprise, "What a joke. What did I do to get banned?" Sin laughs. "You're Section E too. Being banned is normal for you." Jay angrily says, "Don't be so happy. Now think about where you'll get food from." Then she says, "From today, I'll bring food only for myself." Sin timidly asks, "Bring something for me too, please. My family is busy at home." Jay sighs and says, "All right, I'll share my food with you." On their way back, they meet Section C's President Rocky. Sin gets very happy seeing him. Jay tells Rocky she's also been banned from the canteen. Rocky takes out his own money to buy food for Section E and goes to help. Rocky was a very kind girl. Jay sees Sin embarrassed and says, "There must be something between you two. Is she the one you kissed?" Sin nods, yes. Jay, surprised, says, "I never imagined you could kiss someone. How did that happen?" Sin says, "Our faces just got very close, and I kissed her. Then she beat me up." Then they go to watch the election, but it's not an election. It looks like a wrestling match is starting. Jay is astonished. When Watson and David start fighting, Jay supports David. She was the only one in the whole class who didn't support Watson. In the end, Watson wins the fight and is declared class president. Everyone carries him on their shoulders and celebrates outside. Jay sees David sitting wounded. She runs and brings David a shirt and tells him to put it on. David asks in surprise, "Why are you helping me?" Jay laughs. "Does helping need a reason?" Then she helps David outside. Since then, she becomes quite good friends with David. Sin was already a friend. Yuri and Watson watched everything from afar. Just then a boy comes and announces teacher messaged, "Today's PE class will be in the gym, so everyone must wear their uniform." Jay goes to the gym and sees everyone changing their clothes right there. She blushes and says, "Can't you see? There's a girl standing here." And then she sees Watson and stares at him with her mouth open. Sin comes in, holding back his laughter and says, "What? Nice view, right?" Jay snaps, "What's there to see? You all look like skinny sticks." When Sin is about to say Watson, Jay covers his mouth. Then, closing her eyes, she tries to walk out but suddenly bumps into Yuri. Meanwhile, Eris, Keiko, and Michael are talking about Section E. Just then, Eris's girlfriend arrives, and she is Ella. Ella tells Eris she is going to the gym for PE class. Keiko and Michael start teasing her. "Your ex Watson is there," Michael adds. "Not just Watson. Yuri is your ex too, right?" Eris tries to take her away. In the gym, the teacher is making everyone exercise. Then Ella, Eris, and Keiko enter, and both Watson and Yuri glare at Ella angrily. From afar, Jay instantly realizes this girl is Ella. As soon as the teacher leaves, Watson throws a ball at Jay to show his anger. Then the others also start throwing balls at her. Sin and David try to stop them, and Eris watches everything silently. Then Watson tells Jay, "Let's see if you can catch this," and throws the ball hard. The ball hits Jay straight on the nose. Her nose splits open and starts bleeding. Seeing this, Eris runs toward Jay. Jay panics when she sees her blood. In her ears, she hears a distorted voice, "You're useless. Just die." Terrified, she screams hysterically, "I can't do this anymore. Stop it." Eris rushes to her and tries to calm her down. After a lot of effort, he finally manages to calm her. Eris knew that Jay had these kinds of mental panic attacks. Watson and Yuri watch everything from afar, and their faces show real fear. A few days later, Jay wakes up thinking, should she quit school? Right then, her aunt brings breakfast. Jay hesitantly asks, "Should I stop going to school?" Her aunt says firmly, "You don't quit school because of bullies. There are many ways to fight. You don't always have to fight physically, but sometimes you can. I give you permission." Hearing this, Jay becomes extremely happy because until now she tolerated everything, only for her aunt. Later, when Jay arrives at the shopping mall, everyone from Section E starts pulling her away. Jay shouts, "I'm not going anywhere with you." But Watson comes and says coldly, "Come with me." Jay protests, "No, you think I forgot what you did to me?" Watson doesn't listen and drags her to a cafeteria seat. Jay says, "Do you think I'm a dog who sits when told?" Watson commands, "Sit." Jay awkwardly sits. Watson then tells Kit, their classmate, "Bring the special ice cream here." Jay says in surprise, "This is Kit's cafeteria? I didn't know they were this rich." Watson looks at her nose and asks, "Does it hurt?" Jay says irritably, "Are you blind? Can't you see?" When the tape on Jay's nose falls off, Watson fixes it with his hand. Their eyes lock. Everyone watches from afar with their mouths open. Watson. When Watson gives her the ice cream, Jay says, "Are you bribing me? You think I'll melt because of this?" Watson confidently says, "All girls melt." Jay smirks. "Maybe other girls, not me." Then Watson asks, "So what do you want?" Jay says coldly, "A simple sorry. And an explanation for why you did all this." Watson says impatiently, "I can't say sorry." Jay stands up and says, "Then there's no point wasting time here." She leaves the cafe but returns 2 seconds later and takes the ice cream. A few days later, she comes to school and thinks, "I'll stay quiet. If they start a fight, then I'll fight." Just then, Sin arrives and sees the tape on her nose. "Are you okay?" Jay says, "I'm fine." Sin blushes and says, "I missed you." Sin asks, "Are you scared of blood? That day you looked like you were going to turn into a monster." Jay says in shock, "I don't remember anything." Sin says, "How is that possible?" Jay laughs lightly. "What's impossible? Do you remember what you did 10 years ago?" Sin says, "But that happened last week." Jay says, "Same thing." When Jay walks the other way, Sin asks, "Did you transfer to another section? Will you leave me?" Jay says, "Stop being dramatic, I was going to the washroom." Section E doesn't have a ladies' washroom. Then Jay asks Sin, "Tell me one thing. Why is everyone so scared of Watson?" Sin says, "I don't know about others, but he did a lot for me. And you've seen how much bigger he is than me? So tall." Jay says, "So that means everyone has to be scared?" When Jay goes to the washroom, she hears Section C girls talking trash about her. They say, "What's so special about that Jay girl? She's not even pretty. Nothing special at all." A girl named Faria then talks trash about Ella. Ella flirts with everyone. "She's a whore," Jay thinks to herself. Search what whore means on Google. When Jay comes out, Faria asks, "Does Section E not have a washroom? Why are you here?" Jay smiles and says, "I'm not pretty, but neither are you." After saying this, Jay splashes water at Faria and runs away, hiding inside David's jacket in the classroom. Right then, Faria arrives looking for Jay. Watson pulls Jay forward. Faria drags Jay outside. She had her whole gang with her. Faria angrily says, "Jay harassed me." Jay says, "I just splashed water on your face so your makeup would come off and your real face would show." Faria shouts, "How dare you? You disrespected me. I'm the queen of this section. You must be punished." Just then, Eris, Ella, and Kiko arrive. Kiko tells Faria, "Before punishing her, find out who she is." Eris says, "She's my cousin, but that doesn't mean she gets a free pass because she's related to me." Hearing this, Jay realizes Eris is on their side too. Then Faria starts her speech. "First thing you must know, Section A is the royal section. We make the rules in this school. We're the best. So, insulting us is a big mistake. Section B is good, but they're not like us. Section C is famous for good behavior, but we treat them like dogs. Section D is like you people, but they have their own director, they're our slaves. And you all, Section E, the garbage of the school. Even the school board doesn't care about you." Jay snaps, "Are you done with your speech? Why so much talking? You could have said all this standing too." Faria says, "I will forgive you if you kneel and say sorry and kiss my shoe." Jay says, "I didn't do anything wrong. You started the nonsense. You called Ella a whore, said she flirts with everyone." Hearing this, Eris gets angry. Faria says, "I didn't say that, Mika did." Mika says, "I didn't say it, you did." When Eris's boys go to hit Mika, Section E's Calix saves her because Mika was once Calix's girlfriend, and he still loves her. Then Watson tells Eris, "If you want to get to Calix, you have to fight me first." And then, a fight breaks out between Section E and Section A. When Faria tries to hit Jay, Jay fights back. Then when someone tries to throw trash at Jay, David runs in and pulls her away to save her. Meanwhile, Sin goes to the medical room to check if the doctor is there. The staff says the doctor is on lunch break. As Sin sits waiting, he suddenly hears Jay and Watson talking. Jay says, "Do it gently, it hurts." Watson says, "It's almost done." Sin starts imagining something dirty going on. He walks in and sees them standing. Jay says in surprise, "Why does your face look like that? Like you just saw a ghost?" Sin says, "I thought you two were doing something else inside." Jay gets irritated and drags him out. Then Yuri comes and tells Watson, "Your plan didn't work. What now?" Watson says coldly, "Let's double the plan, since she came back to school." Watson remembers what happened 2 weeks ago after he hit Jay with the ball. She didn't come to school for 2 weeks, and he felt guilty. But he reminds himself Eris is his enemy, so Jay is his enemy too, so he won't feel guilty. Seeing Eris suffer that day actually made Watson secretly happy. Then he and Yuri plan something new. Watson says, "We can hurt Eris through Jay. Eris clearly cares about her. If Jay suffers, he'll suffer too." Yuri asks, "Why are you doing all this? To get back with Ella? Watson says coldly. I don't know. I just want to hurt Eris. Yuri asks, what's your plan? Watson says, I'll trap Jay in my love. I'll take the most important thing from Eris. Then I'll show him he can't do anything. And when I finally break Jay's heart, she'll leave the section on her own. 2 birds with 1 stone. Watson says, keep this between us for now. Then they planned the whole shopping mall meeting. It was part of their setup. But when Watson was putting tape on Jay's nose, he felt something different. He thought, how can I use someone so pure and innocent just for revenge? How can I hurt her? I'm slowly becoming weak for her. But then he hardens himself. Everything is fair in love and war. Then he puts medicine on Jay's back because Faria scratched her. That's when Jay said, do it gently, which Sin misunderstood. Later, everyone heads out for the monthly assembly. Jay asks, what happens at the monthly assembly? Watson says, we tell the admin our problems. Jay says, then I'll go too. I need to complain about the broken girls' washroom. Watson says, you're not coming with us. It's not safe for you. We're going to Section A, so stay here and clean the room. When everyone returns, they see Jay lying on the floor. She's curled up in pain. When they ask what happened, Jay says she has a little stomach pain. Watson realizes someone hit her, but Jay doesn't tell anyone, thinking it'll create more trouble. Not even her aunt. On her way to school, Jay sees Sin standing in front of her house. Jay says, surprised, didn't know you loved me this much. Meanwhile, Watson finds out that some boys from Section D hit Jay because of Faria's words. Yuri asks, why do you even care about this? Watson says coldly, because she's in our Section E, nothing more. Then they see everyone playing with Jay's bag, holding it up like a flag and saluting it. It looked very funny. When Sin runs and joins them, Jay yells, put my bag down right now! The chocolates will melt! Hearing that, they immediately lower it, and Sin hands her the bag. And then Watson and Yuri look at each other and say, looks like it's time to tell everyone everything. Suddenly, Sin comes running and says, Watson, Jay is fighting the boys from Section D. They see Jay beating them up pretty well, but she can't handle all of them alone. The boys were about to hit her when Watson arrives. The 2 of them start fighting Section D together. In the end, the 2 of them beat everyone down and sit on the ground exhausted. Watson takes a deep breath and says, what would have happened to you if I wasn't here? Are you okay? Hearing this, Jay is genuinely surprised. Watson looks at her intently, then thinks about something, and leaves without helping her up. Jay couldn't stand up on her own. Sin and Yuri arrive, and Yuri lifts her up in his arms. Jay thinks to herself, Yuri looks completely different today. Yuri tells her, I need a favor from you. Take the blame for what happened today, because Watson can't do it anymore. Jay agrees. The next day, there is heavy rain. Everyone jumps at the sound of thunder. One boy says, most students already went home. This always happens on rainy days. Everyone becomes very happy hearing that. Jay messages Eris, should I go home without you? Not getting a reply. She keeps calling. Yuri comes and says, everyone has left. We need to leave quickly. The 2 of them lock the room and run outside. While crossing the soaked field, Jay's foot gets stuck in the mud. She panics and cries, save me, please. I'm going to die here. Having no choice, Yuri goes to help her. He gives her his umbrella and pulls her hard. While pulling, Jay suddenly falls on top of Yuri. Yuri stares at her in shock. Jay, embarrassed, keeps apologizing. Yuri says, get off me first. She was completely covered in mud and hurt too. Jay calls Eris again, but still no reply. Yuri then says, get in the car. I'll take you home. He gives her his coat. Yuri secretly keeps looking at Jay. He takes her to their huge apartment. When Jay falls asleep, Yuri wakes her. Yuri says, the road to your house is flooded, so I thought you should stay here for a while. You were sleeping like a baby. I didn't want to wake you. Jay is amazed seeing the apartment. When she comes to the living room, the maid tells Yuri his grandfather is calling. Yuri says irritably, tell him to move to Japan. Jay hits him on the head and says, you should learn to respect elders. Yuri says, was hitting my head necessary? In the bedroom, Yuri says, take it off. Jay panics and says, what nonsense are you saying? Yuri says, your jacket. It needs to be washed. Then he tells her to shower and leaves. After bathing, Jay comes back and sees her bag is gone. When she moves the curtain to see the view, Yuri appears. Both of them were in the same type of clothes. Jay says, the maid took our uniforms to wash. I can't go out without it. Yuri says, there's a dryer here. Your uniform will dry. Jay says, I didn't know you were this rich. Where are your parents? Yuri says, in Japan. They manage our business. Jay looks at his hair and says, your hair looks like Sakuragi from Slam Dunk Anime. Then she says, I said you were like Watson, but that's not true. You're much easier to talk to. You're very kind. Yuri becomes impressed. Just then, the maid comes and says his grandfather wants to see him and also wants Jay to come. Their grandfather keeps asking, "Who is this girl?" Yuri says, "My classmate." But his grandfather doesn't believe it. "Don't lie. This is the first time you brought a girl home." Then he asks Jay who she is. Jay says, "I'm Angelo Fernandez's cousin." Hearing that, the grandfather recognizes her because Angelo is a CEO. Then he goes silent. The next day at school, they keep joking about yesterday. Seeing Jay and Yuri laughing and playing like that surprises Watson. He asks Yuri what's going on between them. Yuri says, "Nothing. She got stuck at our house yesterday because of the rain. Nothing serious. Our plan will continue as usual." Then a student takes Jay and Watson to the guidance office because they fought with Section D. Section D boys put all the blame on Jay's group. Jay throws the blame back at them. But when they mention Watson's fault, the guidance commander reminds Watson that he was warned one more mistake means expulsion. Jay is shocked and realizes that's why Yuri told her to take all the blame. Jay stands up and says, "It wasn't Watson's fault. It's all my fault. I started the fight." The commander says, "This isn't a joke. You could get expelled." Jay still insists she did everything. Then the commander asks her to call her guardian. Watson asks her, "Do you know what you're doing? You can't blame me later." Just then, Angelo arrives and says, "What did you do now? You promised you wouldn't cause trouble. I had a hard time preventing you from getting expelled, but now you lost your chance to transfer to another section. From now on, you can never switch sections. Like Yuri and Watson, you'll always be monitored by guidance. I need to tell Eris to keep an eye on you." Jay apologizes. Angelo calms down a bit and says, "It's time you change yourself. Otherwise, your career will be ruined." Jay promises she won't cause trouble anymore. Angelo gives her his credit card and says, "Buy whatever you want." That night, Jay buys a bicycle and lots of things for everyone and returns home. Her aunt asks where she got so much money. Jay says Angelo gave her the card. Eris jokes, "So you took advantage of the opportunity immediately, huh?" Hearing that, Jay feels bad. She says, "I only bought a bicycle for myself. Everything else is for you all." Seeing this, Eris walks away angrily. Jay tells her aunt sorry and says she has been suspended for a week. Meanwhile, Watson arrives at Yuri's apartment. The others also bring drinks to party. In the middle of the party, Watson tells them his plan: he will trap Jay in a love game. Because that day when Jay was hurt, Eris was also hurt. Hearing this, everyone starts giving him advice on how to win Jay over. Anyway, after a week when Jay returns to school, David and Sin jump in excitement. Jay is surprised to see that the others are also treating her very nicely. As soon as she enters the classroom, she sees someone sleeping in her seat, and when she tries to sit, they say her seat is already booked. Then Watson says, "Sit beside me. This seat is empty." Jay is shocked seeing Watson smile so sweetly. When Jay sits between Yuri and Watson, both of them keep staring at her. It didn't look like they were acting at all. The next day, when Jay comes to school, Watson suddenly trips her with his foot. Even then, he smiles sweetly. Jay thinks, "What has this demon eaten? For a whole week he's been acting strange with me." Then at one corner of the field, Jay hears the sound of a girl crying inside a trash bin. Going closer, she sees Mika hiding there. Mika cries and says, "Please don't tell Eris I'm here." Jay asks what happened and why she's hiding like this. Mika, crying, says, "Since that day, Section D has been bullying me badly. I'm sure Eris told them to, but I really didn't call Ella a whore." Jay is shocked and says, "Your section didn't help you?" Because Mika was from Section A. Mika says, "If Ella were here, she might have helped, but she hasn't come to school for many days." Jay wants to take her to Section E, but Mika refuses because Calix is there, her ex-boyfriend. Later, Jay takes her to the washroom and cleans her up. Then Jay tests her, saying, "Say Ella is a whore." When Mika says it, Jay says, "No, you didn't say that. Faria did." Jay says she will help her and explain everything to Eris. Then Jay takes Mika to Section E. Calix sees Mika and asks what happened. Jay says, "Stay 10 feet away from her. Long story, let her rest now." Watson and Yuri come and ask why she is here. Jay says, "I rescued her from Section D and brought her here." Calix requests everyone to let Mika stay, but they refuse. Jay says, "I can't abandon her to Section D like this." Watson says they don't want to get into Section D's trouble. Jay gets angry and says, "When I was in trouble, you didn't think twice before helping me." Watson replies coldly, "Because she is not you." Hearing this, the entire class starts teasing. Jay says, What kind of logic is that? If you helped me, why not her? Watson says, because she's not you, so I don't care. Ignoring everyone, Jay leaves Mika in Section E. Walking away, all she can think about is Watson's words. Why has his behavior suddenly changed like this? Mika thanks her for saving her, and they become friends. Calix watches everything from afar because he still loves Mika. When he asks Mika to tell him their story, Mika says everything started from a love letter. Flashback shows Mika gave Calix a love letter. Calix happily accepted it, and they started dating. One day, Ella tells her that both Watson and Yuri proposed to her. She likes Watson, but doesn't want to hurt Yuri. She warns Mika to be careful because she heard Calix has another girlfriend. From then onward, everything changed. Mika says she saw Calix kissing another girl. Hearing this, Jay curses Calix. Mika says, no matter how many times he says sorry, trust once broken is hard to fix. That's why she didn't accept him again. She asks Jay whether she should give him another chance. Jay asks what her plan is for tomorrow. Mika says Ella will come to school tomorrow, and she probably doesn't know what Eris has done to her. Jay goes home and asks Eris why he sent Section D after Mika. She says Mika didn't say that about Ella. Eris says it doesn't matter who said it. His friend was being insulted and Mika just stood there silently. Jay says Mika couldn't talk in front of Faria. Just then, Ella comes and hears everything. Finding out what Eris did to Mika, Ella gets angry and leaves. The next day in class, when Jay teases Sin and David calling them baby, Watson says, please don't call me baby. Jay says, why would I call you that? Right then, Ella comes and calls Jay aside to thank her for saving Mika. She requests Jay to help Mika and keep Calix away from her. Jay says she can't stop Mika. It's her decision. Even when Ella holds her hand and pleads, Jay refuses. There is something strange Jay feels about Ella's behavior. Returning to class, she sees everyone sitting curiously waiting to know what Ella said. Then Calix spots something and runs out, and everyone follows him. They see Michael proposing to Mika. Seeing this, Calix breaks down. Jay asks Mika if she really wants this. Ella and Eris try to stop Jay, but Jay keeps talking to Mika. Michael gets angry and grabs Jay by the throat, but Watson and Yuri immediately pull him away. They tell Mika she can never accept such a rude boy who can even hurt a girl. Calix, crying, says he knows he made mistakes, but he hoped Mika would give him at least one chance, just 5 or 10 minutes to talk. He says he only wants to tell her how much he loves her. Hearing this, Jay also becomes emotional. Finally, Mika agrees to talk to him, and Section E becomes happy. Then Jay gives Calix the love letter she found on the second floor, the very same letter Mika once gave him. Calix reads it and realizes how much Mika loved and trusted him and how he broke that trust. He cries, blaming himself. Jay stops him and shows the message written on the back of the letter. This dark time will pass. Seeing this, Calix smiles and runs to Mika. On the other side, Mika and Calix were talking. Jay and Watson were secretly watching from afar. Watson looks at Jay and says, if you get into another fight, call me. Hearing that, Jay grows weak toward him. Watson says even though he's a bad boy, he wants to change just for Jay. Jay is shocked. Watson laughs and says that's exactly what Calix said to Mika a while ago, right? Jay blushes shyly. Just then they see Calix shouting, Mika, I love you. Jay jumps in happiness. Later in the washroom, Jay sees lots of things written on the wall. She writes there, Faria is a whore, and secretly leaves a camera. Later, she shows David and Sin the video where Faria was insulting Ella because she thought Ella wrote the message on the wall. Then Mika thanks Jay because of her she could talk to Calix again. Jay asks if they got back together. Mika laughs and says not yet, then hands Jay a letter and says give this to Calix. Everyone tells Calix to open the letter quickly. They were so excited that it felt like even their breath stopped. As soon as he reads a few lines, Calix starts crying, shocking everyone who asks what's written inside. Calix hugs Jay happily and says Mika has given him another chance. Hearing this, they act like they've won a trophy, shouting, cheering, laughing, happiness everywhere. Jay then tells Calix to propose to Mika, so Calix runs to her, and watching from afar, Yuri and Watson also smile happily. At home, Jay shows Eris the video where Faria called Ella a whore. Eris says annoyed, why are you showing me this? Jay says this is proof Mika didn't say anything bad. Eris says, so what do you want now? Jay says, let Mika live peacefully. Don't let anyone bully her. Eris says, fine. Jay then says you can punish Faria, though hearing this, Eris says, now I understand you want to use me to take revenge, so I won't punish Faria. On the way to school, Jay thinks Calix and Mika got a second chance, but will things ever be okay between me and Eris? On the road, when a boy asks for directions, Jay helps him. Then Yuri comes and suspiciously asks who that boy was. Jay says she doesn't know him. Later, their PE class begins and the teacher says they have to run 50 rounds. Next to them, Section E's PE class was going on. Sin mischievously grabs Jay's phone and runs, so Watson trips him. Jay angrily trips Watson back, and Watson gets mad and runs after her. Section A was watching everything. Watson catches Jay and suddenly kisses her on the lips. The whole field freezes. Everyone is shocked. Yuri's eyes turn red with anger. Jay also gets furious. Just then, Eris arrives and tries to pull Jay away, and Watson pulls her from behind. Jay is stuck in the middle like she'll be torn apart. Watson, angry, drags her toward him and kisses her again in front of everyone. Seeing this, Yuri and Eris both explode with rage. Jay frees herself and punches Watson in the face. Seeing this, Yuri also gets angry at Jay. Watson keeps saying this was part of their plan. Yuri says Jay will never love him. That's why she punched him. The next morning at school, Jay thinks she couldn't sleep all night because of Watson's behavior. She thinks to herself, I actually felt good, then scolds herself asking what she's even saying. Sin arrives, and seeing Jay's face looking bad, touches her, and says it seems like you have a fever. Did you take medicine? When Jay goes to the washroom for water, Rocky from Section C arrives. Rocky asks how her fight with Faria went. Jay says, not good. Rocky says she knows Faria. She's disgusting. She'll attack again. She says, because of Faria, Sin was sent to Section E. Rocky says once Sin kissed her, Faria became jealous. She framed Sin as a thief and got him sent to Section E. Rocky also says Faria has a relationship with Eris. Hearing this, Jay is shocked and says Eris was in a relationship with Ella. Rocky says she saw Ella and Faria kissing with her own eyes here. It's impossible to understand who is with whom. This truth shakes Jay strangely. Rocky says everyone follows Faria because everyone fears Eris. When the exam bell rings, Jay goes to class. The boys tease her about yesterday's incident. When the exam starts, Jay feels sick and falls asleep on the table. After the exam ends, everyone calls her Jay. It's time to go. Jay says, I just closed my eyes for 1 minute, and you're saying it's time to leave? Calic says it wasn't 1 minute. It's been a whole hour. They say they'll count to 3 if she doesn't get up. Watson will kiss her. Hearing that, she jumps up immediately. Jay looks for her answer sheet. Watson says he gave it to the teacher. Jay panics, saying she didn't write anything. Yuri says there's nothing to do now. The teacher already took it. The next day, Jay sees Sin eating his own food. Jay jokes and asks from which side the sun rose today. You brought your own lunch. Sin says his mom sent it. When he tries to share food, Jay sees he ate everything himself and then offered her. Sin says the monthly exam results are posted in the main building so everyone studies well. Jay says, you're telling me this now? You couldn't call me before submitting the paper yesterday? Sin laughs and says, okay, forget it. Want pancakes? Jay's eyes widen. Of course, yes, I'll eat. When Sin starts pulling cooking ingredients from his bag, Jay says, you little devil, didn't you say the pancakes were ready? What pancakes are these? Sin says, come on, let's cook together. Jay remembers seeing some cooking tools in the classroom before, so everyone starts cleaning them, and then all of them together begin making pancakes inside the classroom. The whole room fills with laughter, happiness, and mischief. And right then, Watson and Yuri arrive. Watson smells the pancakes and laughs, saying the future boyfriend you'll have will be really lucky. I want that to be me. Hearing this, suddenly Jay's eyes jump out, and all of Section E screams in excitement. Jay too unconsciously keeps looking at Watson, and only then notices their pancake has completely burned. Yui comes and jokingly pretends to take a bite of the burnt pancake while laughing. When the result sheet is posted, Jay says, let's see what new disaster waits for me today. I've definitely failed. Watson pulls her and shows her the result, and seeing it, Jay freezes. She actually scored amazingly. At first, she thinks she's seeing wrong. Then, when she sees Yuri and Watson's scores, she wonders how they were always so smart, but she never noticed. Watson simply watches her reaction quietly. Jay then sees Sin got the lowest score in class. Still, she can't figure out how she herself scored so well. Jay goes to Sin and sees a bag in his hand. She asks whose it is. Sin says a girl handed it to him. A moment later, the girl arrives, snatches her bag, and accuses him of stealing, claiming he took money from it. Jay immediately starts arguing with the girl. She says, where's your proof? Sin didn't go anywhere. I was sitting right beside him. Just then, Eris appears, and other Section E boys also step forward. Faria dramatically says, oh my god, Sin, you did it again. Everyone knows how she talks, so Jay gets even angrier. Sin keeps saying he didn't do anything, he's being framed. The girl says there was money in her bag. Only she and her boyfriend knew that. Then one of Section E says, then the thief could be your boyfriend. Jay gets so angry that she says if anyone speaks badly about Sin, she'll break their face, because to Jay, Sin is almost like a soul-level friend. Even when Eris tries to stop her, Jay doesn't listen. Eventually, Michael from Section A comes and pays the girl compensation, and tells Sin if he ever needs money, he should ask his mother, not steal. Hearing that Jay was about to jump on Michael, but Yuri quickly lifts her onto his shoulder and takes her away. Sin walks away with his head down. Jay runs to him and asks, "Why didn't you tell me this before? Why did I have to learn from Rocky? Don't you trust me?" Sin cries, saying he was scared he thought Jay would see him differently. Jay's heart breaks too. She says it's better to speak than stay silent. You're making their lies look true by not saying anything. These words hurt Sin even more. Both of them break into tears. Jay hugs him and says, "I trust you. You could never do this." Yuri and Watson also arrive and say, "We're here." Sin is not alone. Watson says, "Take Sin home, that'll be best." Sin was walking with his head down. Jay puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "Don't walk with your head down. You didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing to be ashamed of." At Sin's door, Jay says his mother doesn't need to know anything about today. Then Sin's mother comes out. Jay is surprised and says, "Your mom is really pretty, just like you." But Sin's mom was so busy she only said bye and left. Sin blushes and says, "I couldn't introduce you. Both my parents are doctors. They're always busy." Jay asks, "Is your family always like this?" Sin says they don't even have time to look at me once. My older siblings aren't close either. For a few days, Jay keeps ignoring Watson whenever she sees him. Watson calls her and says, "Why are you ignoring me?" Jay says, "Why would I ignore you?" Then Jay asks, "Have you talked to Sin?" He hasn't come to school since that day, and he's not answering my calls. Watson says, "Let Sin be, he'll come back on his own in a few days, though we don't know when. He's always been like that." Jay then asks, "Do you have 25,000 pesos?" Watson asks, "Are you trying to give their money back? Don't you understand this was all done to frame Sin?" Jay gets angry and asks, "Then who's behind this?" Watson says, "If I tell you, will you work with me?" Jay says, "I can do anything for Sin." Watson says, "Me too." Then says, "We're not entering school today, we start working." Watson says he suspects two people, Faria and Michael. Both hate Jay. Maybe they're using Sin to take revenge on Jay. Jay says Ella could also be responsible. She's mad at me for bringing Mika and Calix back together. Watson says no, Ella would never do that. Jay smirks and says, "Right, because you said so since she's your ex, right? But what's your plan?" Watson says there's no plan yet. Then he takes out his card and gives it to Jay. Jay happily says, "I'll return this to Michael right now." Watson says if you do that, Sin will be proven guilty. Jay widens her eyes and says, "You're right, I didn't think of that. You're actually a genius, Watson." Watson calls her stupid and laughs, saying he has already figured out what to do with the money. He has an idea. Then he says, "Get in the car." Meanwhile, Eris talks to Ella and asks why she did that to Sin. Ella pretends and says she doesn't know anything. Eris says, "I know everything, Ella." Ella says, "I'm sorry. I hate your cousin Jay. She didn't listen to me, that's why Mika is mad at me." Eris says, "Then why did you drag Sin into it? Sin used to be your friend." Ella says, "I miss Section E, but now Sin doesn't even say hello to me." After Jay became their friend, everyone in Section E became very close to each other, but they were never like that with me. I knew if I targeted Sin, Jay would be hurt. Eris calms her and says, "Don't be scared about Jay. I'm here for you. I'll handle all this." At night, Watson and Jay arrive at the house of the girl whose false accusation had framed Sin. Jay says listening to your plan took the whole day. And how did you even know the girl lives here? As soon as the bell rings, Imelda comes outside. Watson says, "We'll give you money. Tell us who told you to do this." Imelda gets angry and says, "Do you think I'm greedy for money? Your friend is a thief. You should be ashamed." Jay was about to hit her again, but Watson holds her tightly and says, "Stop, do you want to ruin everything before we can save Sin?" Jay angrily goes and sits inside the car. Watson rings the bell again, but no one opens the door. Watson starts trembling with anger. Jay laughs and says, "Look at you now. You're angry too. It would have been better if I'd just punched a couple of times." Watson tells her to shut up and says, "I'm really angry. Say something that'll calm me down." After thinking for a moment, Jay asks, "Who wrote the answers on my exam paper that day?" Watson says, "I did. I answered for you. You were sleeping. Yuri saw it too." Watson says, "You should thank me." Jay says, "Thank you. My foot, if someone found out, I'd be finished." Watson says, "If you stay quiet, no one will know." Jay asks why he did that. Watson says, "Because that day I threw the ball and hit you, you didn't forgive me, and I can't say sorry." Jay pouts and says, "I don't know anything." She gets out of the car angrily. When she gets home, Angelo calls her, "Why did you skip school today?" Jay is shocked. Angelo says, "I'm monitoring you all the time. You were with Watson." right? If you get into trouble one more time, you'll get no help from me. And Grandma is returning next week. Jay says Grandma must still be angry at me. She won't even want to see my face because she had a heart attack because of me. Angelo says, forget the past, now you need to try to change. But the next day when Jay enters school, she forgets all her fear, thinking no matter how much my family worries about me, I won't step back when it comes to a friend like Sin. So she goes and throws the money at Michael's face and says, Sin didn't steal. I stole this money. The moment Jay finishes speaking, they see Faria was secretly filming everything. Eris rushes in and says, you're trying to become a hero for Section E again? Kiko then tells Jay, I know Sin is very close to you, but taking the blame for him isn't right, it would be foolish. Though Kiko says it calmly, there's a soft affection in his eyes. He liked Jay a little. Eris then says coldly, how did you know there was money in the bag? Jay says I heard them talking. Eris pauses and says, then why did you steal? If you told Angelo he would have given the money, don't you know how much he loves you? Jay lowers her head and says, I didn't want to burden him anymore. Eris sighs deeply and says, fine. Since you want to make yourself the culprit, then from now on you'll be marked as a thief. Jay stiffens her face and says, fine, say whatever you want. When she enters class, she sees everyone watching some video on their phones. Before she realizes anything, Orson comes and says, what have you done, Jay? But Jay still understands nothing. David quickly says you were live on Facegram, everyone saw everything. Hearing that the video went live from Faria's account, Jay's head buzzes and her eyes turn red with anger. Right then, Sin arrives at school, and seeing Jay, he says, why did you do this, Jay? Why did you take the blame? Why did you get into trouble? Jay calmly says, I just want you to go back to how you were happy, bright, yourself. Sin panics and says, but what about you? This video will stay on the internet forever. Jay smiles lightly and says, I don't care about that. I can handle it. You just be happy. Hearing this, Sin moves forward and hugs her tightly, saying, thank you, Jay. Thank you. Seeing their hug, the whole class goes silent for a moment. They had rarely seen such genuine friendship. Jay also smiles softly. Seeing Sin smile, everyone can tell they're the light in each other's lives. Watson went to one of his hacker friends and said, delete that video from every corner of social media. The next morning, Angelo was furious and scolding Jay. He had seen that video online. Angelo immediately called Watson to ask what really happened at school. Jay was stunned. Why does Angelo even have Watson's number? Watson said on the phone, Jay only said that to protect Shin, but I got the video deleted. Don't worry. Angelo warned Jay one last time not to get into trouble again. Then Jay's grandma arrived with a new aunt. The new aunt didn't like Jay at all and complained to grandma that Jay was causing trouble at school. But grandma didn't believe a word because she loved Jay so much. Jay ran over and hugged her tight. To freshen up, Jay took the bike out. He entered a cafe and sat down to eat. A few girls from Section A were there. When they saw Jay, they told a waiter, a thief has entered this restaurant. We don't want to stay here. The waiter came and told Jay to leave. Just then, Yuri walked into the cafe. He immediately understood the girls were trying to embarrass Jay on purpose. Yuri told the waiter, I'll pay today for everyone working here, but throw those girls out. The waiter agreed immediately, because this cafe belonged to Yuri's father, so the girls were kicked out. Yuri sat with Jay at the same table for lunch. Jay thought, Yuri is actually a really good person. From a distance, Watson saw everything. Seeing Yuri and Jay together made him sad. It was obvious now they both were starting to like Jay. Jay talked about her family, and Yuri talked about his. Jay said she had dated 2 boys. Before one was a cheater, the other was just dumb, so she broke up with them. Yuri thought, I think I'm starting to like Jay, but Watson will be angry if he finds out. Then they went riding bikes. Yuri held Jay tightly so she wouldn't fall. They messed around and both fell onto the road. Jay got slightly hurt. Yuri tied a handkerchief around her leg, then sat her on the bike seat and pushed her all the way home. Jay was confused she could have walked just fine. Right then, Grandma saw them in that position. She told Yuri, let go. People are watching. But Yuri didn't let go. He went straight inside, sat Jay on the sofa, and gently applied medicine. Jay didn't even notice when the pain disappeared. Grandma smiled, I know. Yuri is your boyfriend. Jay and Yuri both panicked. That night, everyone had dinner together. Grandma asked about Yuri's family. She was happy to hear Yuri was Japanese. Grandma joked, Yuri, teach Jay Japanese. If she ever marries a Japanese boy, she'll be able to talk. Yuri blushed, and Jay got shy too. Watson texted Jay, change of plans. The next day, when Jay came to school, someone tried to block the doorway, but she forced her way inside. She saw a girl being held down and her boyfriend being beaten by a few boys. Jay screamed, stop! You can't just beat someone like this. They said the boy stole money from a bag. Terrified, Melda blurted out, Faria told me. Everyone was shocked. Rocky came in and said, I recorded a video. If I post it, everyone will know the real culprit. Watson had the hacker upload the video to the group. Everyone at school saw it. Faria was in shock. She couldn't believe the video was hacked and uploaded. Watson teased Jay, "Where's my thanks?" Jay laughed. "I won't thank you." Watson said, "Okay, then give me one thing, the food in your bag." Watson grabbed the food and ran. Jay chased him angrily. Yuri had been waiting to eat. Jay took out food for Shin and David. Yuri gave Jay very expensive food to taste. Jay had never eaten anything so good. She shared it with Shin and David. David asked, "If Reese and Watson got into a fight, who would you support?" Jay couldn't answer. The next morning, Jay was walking with a heavy bag. The boy who asked her directions yesterday offered her a ride, but Jay refused. Just then, Yuri pulled up and Jay got into his car. Yuri said, "Same car again today? I think that boy is trying to flirt with you." Right at that moment, Watson came and stole food again. Jay shouted, "Watson, stop!" But Watson wouldn't give it back. Watson's whole crew started eating food from her bag, and Jay got furious and started scolding Watson like crazy. After a while, she ran out of words and just sat down in the middle of everyone. At that moment, the teacher entered the class and announced the school festival would start soon, so everyone should prepare. Jay was totally confused. She didn't even know what a festival was. Someone explained that at this school, the festival lasts a whole week with lots of activities, even a beauty contest. Each section gets different responsibilities. The teacher assigned Kiefer the job of security and cleaning. Watson immediately refused. He wasn't doing that. The rest of Section E complained too. Why did they always get the bad jobs? But Jay stirred things up and said, "We're participating." Inside, she was super excited. She couldn't wait to see what a big festival was like. Soon, Watson and Jay's argument got heated, and within 5 minutes, the class was divided half on Watson's side, half on Jay's. Watson had more people because Jay tempted everyone, saying she'd bring food from the canteen and they'd get to see all the pretty girls. The teacher told them to discuss among themselves and then report back. During break, Jay and Shin were planning to eat lunch together, when suddenly Jay thought of Yuri. If she asked him, he would definitely join their team. Just then, Watson came and wanted to eat lunch with Jay, but Jay ignored him, saying she would stay with Yuri and that their teams were different. Watson's jealousy went through the roof. Later, when they sat down to eat, Watson showed up again and kept staring sweetly at Jay, but she ignored him. Jay said, "How about we cook every day during break? That way they could make their own food." Watson said, "No. The cooking stuff belongs to Iman's father's restaurant. He's not here. We're not touching their things." Jay said, "Then let's go ask Iman for permission." Watson warned, "His family is in trouble. Don't go." But since the whole class was with Jay, they went anyway. They entered the restaurant and saw no one. Then Iman came and said he wouldn't be coming to school anymore because their restaurant wasn't earning at all, and if they couldn't pay rent, it would close. Jay immediately said they would all work there, so customers would start coming. And it actually worked when people saw Yuri. Customers were shocked. When Yuri handled orders with a bright smile, the female customers practically melted at his beauty. Watching from afar made Watson burn inside. When Yuri was taking selfies with customers, Watson started unbuttoning his shirt to show off his muscles to get attention. Jay stood nearby, laughing quietly at the madness. When Yuri started flexing too, the female customers lost their minds and ignored Watson completely. Seeing Watson's situation made Jay laugh even more. Their weird competition continued until night. While working, Watson burned his hand. Jay instantly made him sit and did first aid. Watson's mood flipped. Staring at Jay, he realized he might have actually fallen in love. But out loud he said, "See? This is what happens when you come here. It's all your fault." Jay smiled softly and said, "Today everyone helped so much. Thank you." Watson was surprised. Suddenly, at that moment, Eris and his girlfriend Ella walked into the restaurant. Everyone was shocked to see them. Ella, as usual, acted all superior and talked to them like they were servants, which made Jay angry. No matter what job they were doing, they were still people. How could she talk like that? Yuri couldn't stand it either. Faria kept mocking them, saying they probably needed money. That's why they became waiters. It was very late when Yuri walked Jay home. Seeing her worried, Yuri said, "Don't be scared. I'll always take you home." Just then, a boy named Coco showed up. He said he studied in Section A, wanted Jay's phone number, but Reese didn't give it. So he came himself because he wanted to propose to Jay. Jay was shocked. At that moment, Eris appeared and scolded Coco. "You don't have permission to propose to my sister. Jay won't date or fall in love." When Coco left, Jay realized that although Eris acted angry, deep down he was protective. The next morning when Jay left home, the first thing she did was check if Coco was around. But then Watson suddenly called out, and Jay got scared. Watson laughed and said, "Were you looking for someone else?" Jay asked why Watson was outside her house. Kiefer said, "Come on, "We have a meeting today." Jay carefully got into the expensive car. She was eating something, and Watson, unable to control himself, took a bite from her hand and accidentally bit her finger too. Jay was shocked, and Watson said, "I left home without eating because of you. You're always late, you have to pay the price." Jay stared at her finger. Because Watson's lips had touched it, they went back to the restaurant where everyone was present. Iman said his father was healthy again and would return to the restaurant. Everyone was happy. Iman said he would return to school too. They thought everything would be good like before. Iman asked Jay if she could take responsibility for cooking. Jay agreed immediately. Everyone dressed as waiters and worked. Even after everyone left, Jay stayed behind because she was starving. Watson brought her a menu and said, "Order whatever you want and I'll pay for it today." Jay was thrilled whatever she ate, Watson would pay. Seeing this from a distance made Yuri sad, but he quietly helped everyone finish closing up. The next morning at breakfast, the maid said, "Someone came to meet you. If you don't go now, he'll leave." Jay thought Kiefer had come again just like yesterday, but when she went out, 4 handsome boys were standing there. They all said, "We have to go marketing today. We need supplies to cook at school." Jay said, "Wait, I'll go change." But Shin and Watson both said, "You look good like this. No need to change." Jay decided to go in that same outfit and got in Watson's car. Yuri felt jealous again. They bought lots of food and stuff. When they got outside, Jay's hands were full of bags and she said, "Can someone help me?" Yuri stepped forward, holding a huge box already, but Watson ran and grabbed most of the bags first. When Yuri tried to take the rest, Jay laughed and said, "No, I can carry this much." The next day in school, Jay looked exhausted because she didn't sleep well. Yuri suddenly said, "Boo!" from behind and scared her, and Jay jumped, getting very close. Today, Yuri wasn't wearing glasses, just lenses. Jay looked at him and said, "You look really handsome without glasses today." Yuri blushed, and seeing all of that from afar made Watson jealous again. When Jay entered class, she saw Shin curled up sleeping. No matter how much they called him, he wouldn't wake up. Iman said, "He always sleeps like that." While opening some boxes, Jay found one labeled Kayla. When she asked everyone, they said Kayla was a really nice girl, but if she got angry, she became a complete witch. Right then, Kiefer arrived and said in a cold voice, "You don't need to know so much. You just came to this class a few days ago, and in a few days you'll leave again." Hearing that, Jay stayed silent, but inside, she was really angry. In the washroom, Jay runs into Shin and asks, "What's Coco from Section A like?" Shin replies, "No one from Section A likes our Section E. Coco can't stand us either," and walks out. Right then, Watson walks in and says, "What are you doing here?" Jay shoots back, "I should be asking you that. What are you doing here?" Watson says, "This is the boys' washroom. Obviously, I can come in. It's not my fault you don't have a ladies' washroom here." Then he goes straight to the point. "Why were you asking about Coco? Do you like him?" When Jay tries to dodge the question, Watson grabs her hand and says, "Look me in the eyes and say you really don't like him." Annoyed, Jay says, "Why should I tell you who I like? And what will you do if you know?" Hearing that, Watson goes quiet, then storms out, clearly angry. Back in class, Jay finds out everyone already knows Coco. Proposed to her, the news has spread. And now the whole class is ignoring her because Coco is from Section A, and there's already bad blood between Section A and Section E. After school that day, Jay can tell the boys are planning something. The way they're talking makes it obvious. So she secretly follows them one by one and sees Watson, Yuri, and the others go into an old abandoned house together. Jay sneaks in too, but suddenly someone grabs her from behind and covers her mouth. Turns out they've called Coco there to teach him a lesson. How dare he propose to Jay? But Coco hasn't come alone either. He's brought his own group, and he himself isn't weak at all. Just when things are getting tense, another thug-like guy shows up, grabs Jay, drags her forward, and threatens, "Let Coco go, or you'll all be in trouble." Jay realizes that if she just stands there, she'll be in danger and drag everyone else into danger too. So without hesitating, she jumps from the upper floor to the ground below, not even knowing if anyone will catch her. But Coco, Kiefer, and Yuri all rush forward and catch her together, so she doesn't get hurt at all. Outside, they surround her, checking if she's okay, and scold her at the same time. "If we hadn't caught you, what would have happened if you jumped from that high?" Jay snaps back. "Why did you make all these plans without telling me first? That's why I followed you." In the end, everyone steps aside so Coco and Jay can talk alone. Only Watson doesn't want to leave, but he's forced to walk off with the others. Coco sits down beside Jay. She says calmly, "It's not that I don't like you. The truth is, I can't date right now. I don't have permission from home either. That's why I had to reject your proposal. I'm sorry." Coco lowers his head and walks away sadly, and Jay just stands there for a while, quietly watching him go. That night, as soon as Jay reaches the gate at home, she runs into Eris. Because she's come back so late, Eris starts scolding her. Right then, as she takes her phone out of her bag, a pregnancy test kit falls out, and and it's marked positive. Eris is totally shocked. Instantly, he assumes Jay is pregnant. In a flashback, we see the truth. Jay actually picked that test kit out of a trash bin, thinking it might be useful someday as proof if needed, so she kept it in her bag. But right now, Eris doesn't want to hear anything. There's only one thought in his head. Jay must have done something wrong with either Watson or Yuri. That same night, he calls both Watson and Yuri over to the house. They're both stunned, having no idea why they've been summoned so late. Once everyone is in a separate room, Eris, with a deadly serious face, starts interrogating them. And before anyone can understand anything, a doctor is called. After checking, the doctor says Jay is not pregnant. Hearing that, Jay finally feels like she can breathe again, and everyone is relieved. Only Kiefer, who's watched the entire drama, collapses in laughter and just cannot stop. Seeing this, Jay gets furious and storms out of the room. Later, Yuri comes and says, "I'm really sorry because of Watson." But Jay is so shaken and angry that she blames Watson and snaps at Yuri too. Right then, Watson shows up in front of her and, without thinking twice, Jay slams a punch straight into his cheek. The next day at school, everyone sees the clear mark on Watson's face. Very quickly, the news spreads that it was Jay who punched him. Jay stands in class and says firmly, "Whoever messes with me will get punched like this." There's so much determination in her voice that no one finds it funny anymore. They genuinely start to be afraid. A little while later, the teacher picks a few students for the festival and says everyone has to dress up nicely. Whoever looks the most attractive will be chosen. Faria says in an overconfident tone, "Sir, obviously we'll be the best." During break, Iman cooks for everyone. When they start fighting over who will eat first, Jay steps in and lines everyone up properly. Watson constantly tries to stay close to Jay, and every time Yuri notices it, he feels a small ache inside. That day, Jay, Shin, and David decide that once school is over, the three of them will go to the amusement park. Hearing this plan, Watson and Yuri both feel extremely uncomfortable and irritated, but they don't say anything. The next day, as soon as school ends, Jay, Shin, and David go to the amusement park. They ride all the rides, scream, laugh, and have a great time. From a distance, Watson and Yuri quietly follow them. At one point, David gets really close to Jay as a joke and leans in as if he's about to kiss her. The moment Watson, Yuri, and the others see that, they rush over and shove David aside. One look at their faces shows how seriously angry they are. David says, "Hey, it was just a prank." And Jay, still shocked, snaps, "What kind of prank is that?" After that, everyone decides to go into the haunted house together. Jay doesn't want to go because she's scared of ghosts, but they all gang up and drag her inside anyway. Before entering, and even inside, they take tons of photos, group shots, and selfies with Jay at the center of every moment. Inside the haunted house, Jay spends the whole time clinging to Shin, trembling in fear, when suddenly she realizes one person is missing. They came in with more people than they have now. Terrified, she pushes open the door and runs outside, only to see a vampire figure in front of her and screams. The sight takes her back to that childhood memory how her parents left her and went off on their own. The pain of being abandoned floods back, and she breaks down even more. At that moment, Watson grabs her and tries to calm her down, holding her hand tightly and saying, "I'm here. Nothing will happen. I won't let anything hurt you." Trusting his words, Jay goes back inside. In the darkness, they get separated again, running and calling out to each other, until finally Watson finds Jay and pulls her into a tight hug. From that embrace, it hits Jay Watson really has fallen for her. Why else would he protect her like this? Still, she quickly pulls away, pretending she hasn't understood anything. When they all come outside, they realize only those two had disappeared together and come out together, and everyone is quietly confused. To blur the awkwardness, Jay says, "Come on, let's go for another ride." No one wants to go except Watson. Jay is secretly happy, but Yuri's eyes are full of jealousy. He can no longer stand seeing Watson and Jay together, because he too has fallen for Jay. On the Ferris wheel, Watson sits right beside Jay. Yuri had planned to confess his feelings on this ride, but Shin keeps taking photos and never gives him the chance. Meanwhile, Watson pulls Jay closer and poses for pictures, and Yuri can only watch, grinding his teeth. Suddenly, due to a mechanical problem, the Ferris wheel stops in midair and starts swaying hard. Jay is terrified and shaking, and both Watson and Yuri are worried. At that exact moment, Eris calls. Before Jay can say anything, Watson snatches the phone and says, "We're having fun. Please don't call and disturb us." Hearing that, Jay knows she's in for a scolding when she gets home. Her face heats up with anger, but Watson just smiles. Right then, fireworks light up the sky, and Jay forgets everything, screaming with excitement like a 5-year-old. Everyone feels happy seeing her laugh, and Watson just keeps looking at her. Later, when Jay asks for her phone, Watson teasingly doesn't give it back. In the tug of war over the phone, Jay falls onto his lap. When she tries to get up, Watson holds her tighter, and on the other side, Yuri pretends he's about to fall and ends up landing right on Jay's lap too. When they finally get off and head for the exit, Eris is waiting at the gate. Back home, he starts scolding her. He had warned her not to get too involved with the boys from Section A, and now he even suspects, "I think you've already started going out with Watson." Jay is shocked and denies it, but inside she blushes, remembering her moments with Watson, and realizes she's slowly starting to fall for him. Still, in a hard voice, she only says, "Everything you're thinking is wrong. None of it is true," and leaves the room. The next day, during festival practice, the whole class sings and dances together, getting ready for their stage performance. Yuri dances incredibly well. His moves leave everyone stunned. A little later, Watson joins in, and it turns out he's an amazing dancer too. After practice, Iman feeds everyone. One day, Jay goes alone to the grocery store, where a man comes up, touches her arm, and starts talking. He says, "I'm your mother's second husband. Don't you recognize me?" It's the same man who treated her badly when she was a child. Seeing him again makes her whole body shiver. Tears fill her eyes, and she runs outside without saying a word. At that moment, Yuri is driving past. He sees Jay crying, stops the car, gets out, and hugs her tightly to calm her down. Jay says, "All my bad childhood memories are coming back," and Yuri quietly replies, "Being able to forget those memories all this time, that was the real blessing." Jay takes out a handkerchief from her pocket to wipe her eyes and realizes it's the same handkerchief Watson gave her that day in the abandoned building when she was crying in fear. Seeing it, she remembers everything Kiefer said, and seeing Yuri blush as he stands in front of her, she thinks, "What's happening to me? Why is Yuri blushing when he looks at me? Does that mean Kiefer and Yuri both like me? Am I going crazy?" In the middle of all this confusion, the festival finally begins. At one of the stalls, Jay grabs some fried chicken and sits down to eat. Suddenly, some boys from class come over and start snatching food from her plate. She shouts, "If you're such rich kids, go buy your own food." They laugh and move away to the other side. Just then, Watson comes and, without saying anything, starts taking pictures of Jay. Then he takes her to a game stall where you can win a teddy bear. He tries 2 or 3 times but still can't win. Jay laughs and Watson says, "Don't worry, I'll show you. I'll bring home first prize in the music festival." That night, security duty at the festival falls on Jay and Yuri. During a quiet moment, Watson uses the chance to ask about Jay's mother. Jay, with a stiff expression, says she doesn't like her mom because she left her and married someone else. Watson holds her hand and says, "There's nothing to be sad about. You're with us now." Just then, they see a boy acting weird in the distance. When they follow him into the dark, a hanging ghost prop suddenly swings down in front of them, and they both get scared and run away together. The next day, during the basketball competition, Jay sits in the middle, with Yuri on one side and Watson on the other. Felix wants to join the team, but at first the coach doesn't take him. When everyone insists, he finally agrees, and in the end, it's Felix who scores the final goal. Their team wins, and everyone, especially Jay, Yuri, and Watson, is overjoyed. Later in class, during dance practice, Shin gets extremely nervous. So President Rocky comes over, encourages him, and takes him out for a walk. One by one, everyone leaves, and Jay starts to feel lonely again. Just then, her ex-boyfriend Selim messages her asking for help. She ignores him, just like before. Felix comes and hugs Jay, thanking her over and over, and says that basketball captain Joy is so happy about the win that he's throwing a secret party, and Jay is invited too. The next day, Section E's dance performance takes place. They dance amazingly. The judges and teachers are impressed, but the hosts from Section A make fun of them, especially when they hear the group is called Jay Warriors. Jay's own name is in the team name. Jay is shocked, and her face goes red with a mix of embarrassment and happiness, but they dance and prove they really are the best. Then in the singing competition, Watson goes on stage and sings the exact song Jay once told him was her favorite, and while singing, he keeps looking at her again and again. As the song plays, all of Jay's memories with Watson flash through her mind. Her cheeks turn red. She realizes this isn't just friendship anymore. Something inside her is changing. Yuri comes up beside her with a small smile and says, "See, he sang that just for you." After the song, Watson comes and stands next to Jay and asks, "How was it? Your favorite song?" Jay is so shy she can't say anything properly. She just looks down and smiles. That same night, security duty falls on Jay and Yuri again. Standing in a quiet corner of the empty field, Jay suddenly says, "I think I'm starting to like someone again. Someone who hurt me a lot before." I don't know if it's right or wrong. Yuri, half joking and half serious, says, if you're this confused, you could see a psychiatrist. You'd get good advice. Jay frowns and says, I'm not going to a doctor for something like this. But inside, Yuri really wants to know who she's talking about. Jay then laughs again and says, you're the one who has a crush on someone, you should be the one to move on. And Yuri just looks at her, thinking to himself how he's supposed to move on when that crush is on Jay herself. Yuri says in a serious voice, not at all. I can't move on. The person I like is very special to me. As always, Jay takes it lightly, not realizing that this special person is actually her. The next day, Jay comes to the festival wearing boys' clothes. Everyone stares and says how cool she looks. Right then, her ex's mom sends a message. But before Jay can reply, Watson snatches the phone from her hand. Having her privacy invaded like that makes Jay really angry inside. The next day is Yuri's solo performance on stage. The boy who was supposed to play the music doesn't show up, so another classmate brings him his guitar. Yuri takes the guitar, walks to the center of the stage, and sings a soft, romantic song, keeping his eyes on Jay the entire time. Couples fall into their own little worlds, and in Jay's head, one thought keeps spinning. Is he really singing this for me? Feeling a little overwhelmed, she quietly slips out and replies to her ex's mother's message, then goes straight to the hospital. There lies Salim, the mental ex-boyfriend. The moment he opens his eyes and sees Jay, he goes crazy with happiness, grabs her hand, pulls her close, and begs her to get back together, saying he can't live without her. Jay panics and struggles, and even though people try to hold him back, they can't stop Selim. In the end, she runs out of the room. At the door, his older sister shows up and dumps all the blame on Jay, says it's because of her that her brother ended up like this. Hearing that makes Jay's heart even heavier. Back in class, everyone asks Jay why she suddenly left the festival and the show. When Watson starts scolding her in a sharp tone, the heartbroken Jay doesn't stay quiet this time. She fires back, I can't always be there for you guys, and walks straight out of class. She finds an empty room in the building and sits alone. A little later, Yuri finds her, sits beside her, ignores her go-away mood, and instead hands her the guitar, starting to teach her how to hold the chords, how to play one or two simple songs. In between learning and laughing, the two of them keep looking at each other. The moment turns a little softer, a little strange, and suddenly, their first kiss just happens. Right then, the door opens and Watson walks in. Trophy in hand, their team has won the competition, and because she's been with them from the start, the award is in Jay's name. He puts the trophy in her hand, but one look at his eyes makes Jay uncomfortable, caught between Yuri and Watson. She doesn't even know what she's doing anymore. Yuri realizes from Watson's gaze that he also has feelings for Jay, and Watson looks back at Yuri with the same jealous, burning eyes. A silent war begins between the two. The next morning, Jay wakes up and finds herself in a strange hotel room. Last night, she was so emotionally wrecked that she didn't go home and instead stayed alone in a rented room. Now her head is spinning with the memory of kissing Yuri, and the exact moment Watson walked in. Pulling herself together a little, she goes with Felix to that secret party she'd been invited to. When they arrive, they realize it's actually a pool party. Girls in bikinis, loud music, drinks. Neither Felix nor Jay feels very comfortable. Coco welcomes them with a cheerful smile and says, come on, enjoy to your heart's content. Not wanting to stay in the crowd, Jay slips inside to look for food. That's when some guy grabs her hand and starts pulling her. Coco steps in, pushes the guy away, and offers Jay a drink. The taste feels weird, and the look in Coco's eyes makes Jay feel really uneasy. Soon her head starts to spin. She steps outside and sees Felix almost collapsed on the floor, mumbling that they were tricked into coming there, that they're going to be forced to drink until they pass out. When Jay tries to run away in fear, Coco blocks her path. Everything goes blurry, and she blacks out. In the morning, Jay quietly wakes up and sees the room is tidy, no one around. When she goes downstairs, a boy tells her that last night the boys from Section E came and rescued the two of them. Outside by the pool, she finds Felix sitting there with swollen eyes. He tells her that Watson and Yuri saved them. They came in with their whole crew and went all out on those guys. When they found Coco, Eris himself beat him up badly because he knows exactly how rotten Coco is inside. Then the three of them went looking for Jay. Before she could do anything, she was already in their arms, and Watson carried her in his arms all the way to his own house and put her to bed. It's in that house that Jay has just woken up. On the other side, the previous night, Yuri had looked Watson in the eye and asked, "Do you like Jay?" Hearing such a direct question makes Watson stumble for a second. Then he hides behind the plan and says, "Are you crazy? It's all for the plan. Why would I ever fall for a girl like her?" Before he can finish, he squeezes the glass in his hand in anger and shatters it, cutting his palm. Blood starts to drip. Seeing that rage, that trembling, Yuri becomes sure whatever Watson says with his mouth, it isn't true. He's really, actually fallen for Jay. Later, Felix apologizes to Jay again and again, and she forgives him. After that, Watson's little brother calls everyone for breakfast. Jay asks Yuri about Watson's injured hand. Yuri quietly says he did it himself, out of anger, and warns her to be careful of his brother too. Apparently, the younger one is even more dangerous. At the breakfast table, the little brother just keeps teasing them, calling Jay Yuri's girlfriend, then saying, "And this is my big brother's girlfriend too." He says Watson has never had any female friends before. This is the first time. Hearing all that, Jay is completely embarrassed and doesn't know what to say. When everyone returns to school, the teacher announces that this is their last class before vacation. Jay almost wants to dance with happiness. Even though exams are coming, vacation still means fun to her. A little later, she goes and sits beside Shin and says, "Look, I'm really bad at studying. You're good. We need to make a deal." The two joke about who will score higher. With a totally serious face, Shin says, "If I beat you, then in front of everyone you'll have to let Yuri kiss you, just like in a manga." Jay agrees with full confidence. She's sure Shin can't pull that off. So to her, this bet feels safe. That night, she goes with Shin to a costume party, where little kids are running around in all sorts of cute outfits. Watching them makes Jay forget all her worries for a while and just enjoy that sweet little moment. While wandering around the costume party, Jay and Watson spot his little brother, the same kid who teased her at the breakfast table the day before. The boy is acting like a little boss, snatching candy from a tiny girl. The girl starts crying and brings her dad. To avoid getting caught, the boy shifts all the blame onto Jay, and the man starts talking to Jay really rudely. Just then, Watson jumps into the argument, saying Jay is a really good girl and it's not her fault. The man doesn't stop, keeps insulting Jay. Then Watson, in a completely serious tone, says, "She's my wife. Who gave you the right to insult my wife in front of me?" Hearing that, the uncle shrinks back and leaves with his daughter. Later, Watson quietly tells Jay that because of what Coco did, he's been terminated from school. Jay is stunned. Watson jokingly adds, "And from today, I'm your husband. You'll have to listen to whatever I say." Jay laughs it off, but something feels strange in her chest. When Watson goes to get drinks, Jay notices a boy in a mask who chases away some creep and basically saves her. When she asks his name, she realizes they have the same title, which surprises her even more. They exchange numbers, and the boy says he'll show his real identity later. Then Watson returns and hands Jay a drink, and the two of them start enjoying the party together. A girl there keeps throwing flirty looks at Watson, and something twists inside Jay, a weird jealousy she can't ignore. When the girl comes and grabs Watson's hand to pull him away, Watson takes Jay's hand instead, leads her inside, and says, "Come on, let's dance." At first, it's just a fun, goofy group dance. Jay is dancing around like a crazy person, but feels strangely lonely and bored inside. Watson is watching her from a distance, and it doesn't take him long to read her expression. After a while, the music changes to a slow romantic track for couple dancing. Watson steps in front of Jay, reaches out his hand, and asks, "Will you dance with me?" After a lot of hesitation and blushing, Jay agrees. The moment she wraps her arms around his neck, she realizes she's truly fallen for this boy. His touch makes her feel an odd, peaceful calm. While dancing, Jay slowly hugs Watson on her own, and that's when he understands Jay has feelings too. Unable to hold himself back, he kisses her right there in front of everyone, and that moment becomes the most cinematic scene of the entire costume party. When it gets very late, Watson drops Jay off in front of her house. They stand at the door bickering over who should go inside first, neither of them wanting to say goodbye. Suddenly, Watson leans in and softly kisses her on the forehead. Jay's heart practically jumps out of her chest. Watson leaves, and Jay goes back to her room and starts a war with herself. She's already kissed Yuri before, and now she likes Watson too. Who does she actually have real feelings for? Right then, a message comes from Watson saying he reached home safely. Jay rolls around on the bed in happiness, then immediately feels scared. When Yuri messages the next day asking about her vacation plans, Jay deliberately doesn't reply. She's decided it's better to keep some distance from him. At school, when she checks her test results, she sees she scored 84%. She's so happy she could dance. But when she sees Shin's result, she freezes. He scored higher than her. Shin comes over and reminds her of the bet. "Remember? If I score more, Yuri will kiss you in front of everyone." Meanwhile, Yuri wants to know why Jay didn't reply to his messages. Jay, flustered, runs straight into class. As soon as she walks in, she sees Watson sitting there. All the memories from last night replay in front of her eyes. and she lowers her head in embarrassment. When she tries to run away, Watson stops her. Before she can say anything, Shin loudly announces that today Jay will kiss one person in front of the whole class. The room explodes with noise. Everyone starts imagining their own name. Watson says in a serious tone that Jay will choose who she kisses, and no one will pressure her. Yuri is sure he'll be the one she picks. Jay slowly walks toward Yuri, then shocks everyone by suddenly bending down and kissing, sleeping David on the cheek instead. David wakes up in chaos, completely confused by what's happening. And in this way, Jay keeps her promise to the bet while not favoring anyone and smoothly dodging the whole triangle situation. The next day in class, Jay is totally wiped out and falls asleep on the desk. Watson seizes the chance and starts taking photos of her sleeping face, laughing to himself. When Jay wakes up, she catches him and immediately tries to grab his phone. But with Watson towering over her like a tall tree, it's not easy. The entire class enjoys the scene, except Yuri, who stays quiet, burning with jealousy inside. Yuri slips a marker into Jay's hand and whispers, "Now you get your revenge." Jay looks at Watson's sleeping face and is a little mesmerized for a moment. But still, she gathers courage and draws a nose, mustache, and beard on his face. Everyone tries hard not to burst out laughing. When Watson finally wakes up, no one says anything, and Jay pretends nothing happened. When he sees his mustache in his phone camera, Watson says in a cold voice, "Very good. Now it's your turn." Before Yuri can hold him back, Watson grabs the marker and draws a glorious mustache on Yuri's face. Seeing the two of them like that, the whole class rolls on the floor laughing. Jay can't hold her laughter in either, and her mood lifts. After school, when Jay returns home, she finds Eris's friends Kiko, Michael, and Ella there. None of them really likes Jay, but Ella politely calls her to join them for dinner. At the dinner table, Jay's eyes keep going back to Ella's such unbelievable beauty without any cosmetic surgery, like a movie heroine. Jay remembers that Watson once loved this very girl like crazy. She thinks to herself, after loving such a beautiful girl, could someone like him ever love a girl like me? Maybe his heart still belongs to Ella. The thought twists her chest painfully. A few days later, a classmate calls Jay in a panic, voice shaking, and says, "Can you lend me some money? If I don't pay, they'll kill me." Jay gets scared and asks what's going on. Who will hurt him? The boy says the place's name. "Come to King the Land. I'll explain later." Jay hesitates, but agrees to go to save her friend. Just then, Yuri comes close and overhears everything. He says flatly, "I'm not letting you go to that kind of place alone. I'm coming with you." The two of them arrive at King the Land and see rough, thug-like men standing everywhere. They recognize Yuri. His father has a lot of money, so their attention sharpens on him. After a while, a man named Tiger arrives, a gambling master with full gangster vibes. Jay learns that her friends gambled against Tiger and lost, and now they owe a huge amount of money. Tiger calmly says, "Yuri's father has so much money, you can pay easily." Jay whispers to Yuri, "Giving them that much money is wrong. If they get it once, they'll never let go." Yuri is taken to a separate room, and Jay is practically forced into the VIP area, where Tiger is drinking, eating, and joking nastily with girls hanging off him. From their words, she realizes that Yuri and Watson used to come here too, but ever since a certain girl came into their school, they stopped coming. They're now doing all this just to drive that girl away. It's not hard for Jay to understand they're talking about her. Outside, Watson is sitting in the car with his friends, calling again and again, but neither Jay nor Yuri is picking up. Not being able to reach them is eating him alive. He can't tell anyone that he's actually fallen in love with Jay. Then, his hacker friend tracks Jay and Yuri's phone location and tells him they're trapped inside that gambling den. Without wasting a second, Watson heads straight there. In his mind, he's already decided if he and Yuri can bring Jay back safely tonight, then only one thing will decide who's more worthy of her. A boxing match? Where in the name of protecting Jay, they'll be fighting each other. Because that whole group basically survives on this betting and gambling money. When the boxing starts, at first Yuri actually wants Watson to win, so that at least the two of them together can get Jay out of there safely. But halfway through, Yuri's ego kicks in. He thinks, "What? Am I some kind of loser?" Then he gets serious, fights for real, and in the end knocks Watson out and wins, proving he's not weak at all either. Meanwhile, Jay is off to the side, beating up that classmate who dragged her there by begging for money. Yuri comes and pulls Jay into his arms to calm her down and says, "I know you were scared, but there's nothing to be afraid of now. We're getting out of here." As they head toward the door, Tiger says Yuri will have to fight one more match if they want the debt cleared. Right then, Watson, still fuming, charges in and starts beating up that classmate too. Because of him, everyone got dragged into this mess. Jay shouts, "Why are you here?" And Watson says straight up, "I was going crazy worrying about you. You shouldn't have come here in the first place." On their way out, the thugs try to block the exit, and Watson fights them off, grabs Jay's hand, and runs. They run so far, so fast, that they completely forget about Yuri. That's why later Yuri feels horrible and thinks, they just left me behind and ran off together. The next day, everyone is super excited because today is the university visit. After graduation, who'll go to which university they'll get to take a look beforehand. All the boys were told to dress smart, but not a single one managed to wear a tie properly, so they all lined up and had Jay tie their ties. Yuri tried to do it himself and made a mess of it, so Jay stepped in and gently said, like this, go slowly, and fixed his tie. Seeing this from the side, Watson gets jealous and deliberately ruins his own perfectly tied tie so Jay will fix his too. When the bus arrives and everyone is about to get on, Watson stands at the door and says, fix my tie. Jay goes, it was fine a minute ago, but still agrees and steps close to fix it. She gets so nervous that she pulls it too tight and practically strangles him. At the university, everyone sits in a seminar. Jay ends up sitting next to some random guy, but Watson walks up, makes the boy move, and sits beside Jay himself, staring at her the whole time. Jay keeps her head down, pretending to ignore him, and watching that, Yuri just sits there quietly, boiling inside. As they come out of the seminar, Jay suddenly freezes. She sees a man in the distance whose face feels oddly familiar. She pulls out an old childhood family photo from her pocket, compares it, and understands instantly that man is her father. Jay runs over and hugs him, and he says in a shaking voice, I've been looking for you for so many years. Please forgive me for what I did back then. Why he left, what really happened, we still don't know. We'll find out later. For now, Eris appears from behind, furious, pulls Jay away from him, and threatens the father. If you try to come near her again, I'll call the police. Watching her father walk away in silence, Jay breaks down. She thought maybe, finally, her family would come back together. Watson angrily shoves Eris aside, and Yuri also comes over to hold Jay and try to calm her down. Back home, Jay lashes out at Angelo. Everyone lives with their parents. Why am I the only one like this? That night, Watson takes Jay to his own separate house. This is where he lives alone. In a calm voice, he tells his story. After my mom died, my dad married someone else. My stepmom couldn't stand me. After enough fights, they bought me this separate house and sent me here. I live alone now, but at least it's peaceful. When they talk about Jay's dad again, both of them realize adult stories are not always as pretty as book covers. They mess around drawing on each other's faces with markers until they start to feel a bit lighter. Jay asks playfully, do you like someone? Watson answers in a slightly serious tone. Yeah, there's a girl at our school I don't just like, I love her a lot, but I haven't told her yet. Immediately, Ella's face pops into Jay's mind, she thinks. It must be Ella. Right then, Watson leans in, and they end up kissing again. This time, Jay doesn't stop him. The blush on her face afterward makes it clear that a soft place has formed in her heart too. The next morning at school, she walks into a mess. Watson's little brother is beating up one of her classmates because the boy was supposedly getting too close to his girlfriend. When Yuri punches the little brother to stop him, Watson turns on Yuri instead. How dare he hit his brother? And with that one fight, all the light between the two best friends suddenly goes dark. Watching Yuri get beaten with her own eyes makes Jay furious. Why did you hit him? She demands of Watson. Later, while everyone is sitting at the table trying to be normal again, Yuri quietly tells Jay, thanks for staying by my side. I never thought Watson would hit me like that. Shin tries to cheer everyone up, saying, misunderstandings like this will happen. They'll get fixed too. And sure enough, after a while, Watson realizes he went too far. He tells the restaurant owner, I'll pay for everything everyone's eating today. Then goes up to Yuri and simply says, sorry. Yuri doesn't waste a second and forgives him, and their friendship slowly starts returning to what it was. Jay keeps her face grumpy for a bit, but Watson uses his usual cute, playful words and melts her anger in the end. That night, when Jay gets home, she sees her aunt crying the company is on the verge of bankruptcy, and no one knows how the family will survive. Angela whispers, there's only one way if we join hands with Yuri's grandfather's company. We might all be saved. And that'll be easier if Yuri and Jay get engaged. But none of this is said in front of Jay. The next day at school, Yuri calls Jay to the cafe separately. He's come with the intention of finally opening his heart. According to plan, the two sit together. But Jay is strangely quiet today, her mind is elsewhere. Yuri bluntly asks, do you not want to talk to me? Jay jokes, squishing his cheeks between her hands. Why do you say such random things? With your red hair and red face, you look like a tomato right now. Her being that close makes Yuri's heartbeat go wild. He's gathering courage with a small smile when suddenly Watson storms into the cafe. Seeing their close moment, he immediately grabs Jay's hand and starts pulling her away. Yuri doesn't let go and holds on tight. Watson says, there's news about your father. Come. The word father changes Jay's entire face. She says, let me check on my dad first, then I'll come back to you, and promises Yuri, wait for me here. I'll return. Yuri says, I'll be right here until you come back. Jay goes to the university with Watson again to find out about her father, but the office doesn't tell them anything. Her father supposedly left his job there and transferred somewhere else, and they're not allowed to share personal details. In a breaking voice, Jay says, "He came right in front of me and disappeared again. How am I supposed to find him now?" Watson hugs her, kisses her on the head, and quietly says, "You're not alone. Whatever happens in your life, I'm here." After a while, Jay hurries back to the cafe inside. She's scared Yuri might have left, but when she walks in, the whole place is empty, except for Yuri sitting in the exact same chair in the corner. Jay's chest fills with a strange warmth. In a calm voice, Yuri holds out a red rose in a ring box and says, "I don't want to hide anymore. Let everything come out in the open. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say." Then he adds, "Tell me what you want later," and he gets up and leaves. Jay sits there stunned for the first time. She clearly understands that Yuri doesn't just see this as a crush, he sees it as a serious future. At home, she stares at the ring and tells her aunt everything. Her aunt looks at the ring, smiles and says, "I think Yuri really does love you," then slips the ring onto Jay's finger and says, "Take your time and think. Don't rush." A little while after Aunt leaves, Jay gets a call from her mother. There's no cute, caring tone on the other end, just straight news. "I'm getting married for the 3rd time. You have to come." Jay freezes 3rd time. Through all these marriages, her mother never once truly checked on her. She only calls when she needs Jay for something. Jay's voice shakes with anger as she says, "When I needed you, you didn't remember me once," and hangs up. Sitting alone in her room, only one question spins in her mind. Why are my parents so different from everyone else? Why is my life so complicated when others can smile so easily with their families? The next morning, Jay wakes up and notices the ring box isn't on her bed. She asks the maid if she moved anything while cleaning. Right then, she sees the box in Reese's hand. In a serious voice, Reese asks, "Who gave you this ring? When did you decide to get married so early?" Jay blushes and quietly says, Yuri proposed to me." Hearing that, Reese erupts. "I will never accept you being with Yuri, and I don't think Angelo will accept it either. That's not really Ender's nude." The next day at school, everyone is decorating their own classroom for the New Year's party. There will be a big hotel party for the whole school, but no one from Section E is allowed to go. They decide they'll have their own party right there in class, and everyone is excited. Jay helps the boys decorate, but she can't reach high up, so Yuri climbs up and helps her. Now every time she sees Yuri, Jay feels weird. She knows he proposed, and she still hasn't decided her answer. While everyone in class is laughing and working together, Jay's eyes fill with tears. It feels like these classmates understand her way more than her own family. Watson asks her again and again what's wrong, but Jay doesn't say a word. Then on Christmas Day, everyone cooks together and has a little party in class. Seeing Yuri sitting alone in a corner, Jay goes over to him. Yuri is sad because Jay still hasn't given him an answer. Jay smiles and says, "I really liked the ring you gave me." Even that one sentence brings a small smile back to Yuri's face. Just then, Watson walks in, sees this scene, and grows even quieter and colder. Then suddenly they realize a big roasted chicken is missing. They start checking everyone's plates and finally find Shin hiding under a table, eating the whole chicken by himself. Everyone rushes to beat him up, but Jay steps in front of him and says, "He's like my little brother. No one touch him." A bit later, David brings a gift he found outside the classroom door. Jay is written on top. Inside is a beautiful necklace. They later find out Coco sent it through David. After the food, everyone starts dancing. Jay tries to dance too, and the others teach her step by step, laughing. She waves her hand, calling Watson over, but he just sits from afar watching. Seeing Jay laugh is enough for him. Then Yuri sings a beautiful romantic song and spends almost the entire time looking at Jay. She notices and knows it, but deliberately avoids his eyes because she can see Watson getting angry. Before finishing the song, Yuri walks out, then suddenly comes back in front of everyone, picks Jay up in a bridal carry and blurts out, "I love Jay." The whole class goes silent. Jay loses her words, and Watson just cannot accept it inside. That same night, everyone goes to a friend's house for another party, a lot of them drink, and Jay, for the first time, drinks too, and goes completely wild. The next morning, Jay wakes up with a headache and a heavy dose of shame as the memories slowly come back. How, after several drinks, she went alone to the kitchen to look for food and ran into Yuri. He stopped her and said, "I already told everyone I love you. Why are you avoiding me?" Then he knelt down, held her hand, and very quietly asked, "Do you want to marry me in the future?" Jay was so confused and drunk that instead of giving a clear answer, she just said, "My head isn't working right. I need time." Yuri didn't say anything else and just walked away. In the morning, as all those memories return like a flashback, Jay's chest tightens. She remembers that in the middle of the night, she thought she saw Yuri and Watson standing in the shadows, talking very seriously, and she wonders, was Yuri's talk about marriage part of some plan between them too? Just then, she goes downstairs and sees Grandma has arrived with surprise guest Shin. Jay runs and hugs them both. Grandma really likes Shin and keeps saying, "This boy is so polite and sweet." Everyone jokingly suspects maybe something is going on between Jay and Shin. The two of them laugh together and say, "We're just like siblings, nothing more." But Angelo doesn't like Jay having male friends at all. Pulling her aside, he tells her in a strict voice, "You should be focused on books and studying right now, not running around with all these boys." Meanwhile, Aunt secretly tells Angelo that Yuri has seriously proposed to Jay. Angelo's eyes light up because he was already thinking if they partner with Yuri's grandfather's company and marry Jay to Yuri, their own company can be saved. In the evening, everyone sits together for Christmas, exchanging gifts and chatting. Jay opens the little present from Grandma and is happy, replying, "Merry Christmas" to everyone's messages. Seeing just a simple "Merry Christmas" from Yuri makes her smile, while everyone else sends long, dramatic texts. Yuri says everything in a few words. On the other side, Watson is having Christmas dinner at home with his family, but his heart feels completely empty. When Jay opens her gifts that night, she finds a gorgeous, expensive white dress. She's never worn anything like it and has no idea this dress is meant for a very specific day. In the blink of an eye, New Year's Day arrives. Jay wears that white dress and goes to a big party at a 5-star hotel with her family. Their company was invited, so everyone is dressed formally. After going bankrupt, this party is a huge test for Angelo. He's nervous about what people will say, what questions they'll ask. Inside, Jay looks at the guests one by one. This is her first time seeing Yuri's mom, dad, and little sister up close, and she really likes them. Then, in one corner, she suddenly spots Watson. Seeing him puts a different kind of smile on her face. But that smile disappears when she sees him talking with Ella. Jay's heart jolts. So, are they getting close again? From that thought, she starts drinking little by little. The band on stage starts playing her favorite song, the same song Watson once sang on stage just for her. Today, even though the same song is playing, all she sees in front of her is Watson laughing with Ella. Jay feels like she's outside of everything, watching alone. Just then, Yuri comes from behind, holds out his hand, and asks, "Will you dance?" Jay pauses, then says yes, and the two of them start dancing in front of everyone. Jay doesn't know the proper steps, so Yuri gently holds her hands and slowly teaches her. From a distance, Watson watches them dance so romantically and can't stand it. He starts downing drink after drink. The grown-ups standing around, Angelo, Jay's family, everyone comments, "Yuri and Jay look perfect together." In the middle of all this, it's revealed that today isn't just New Year's, it's also Yuri's birthday. Jay is shocked. He never told her. Yuri's family arranged the entire party so they could celebrate New Year's and his birthday together. Everyone calls Yuri onto the stage, and Jay stands beside him. Happy birthday echoes all around. Lights are sparkling, and in the middle of the stage, Yuri and Jay really do look like a couple. Everyone watches them in awe except Watson in one corner, whose eyes are full of sadness and guilt. At the party, everyone assumes today is Jay and Yuri's engagement. Hearing that, Jay is stunned no one told her beforehand. Watson is also shocked, and her aunt understands from Jay's face that she knew nothing. Yuri, however, is happy the girl he's loved for so long might finally be officially tied to him. But Jay is anything but happy. Her chest feels heavier and heavier. She can clearly see Watson's broken eyes, and it's too much. She slips out of the crowd and starts crying alone. Angelo comes and tells her everything. The company is bankrupt. Their last hope is teaming up with Yuri's family. "We've always lived thinking of you. Can't you think about us just once?" Jay sobs. "I'm not even 18 yet. I want to study and stand on my own feet. How can you fix my marriage like this? At least ask me once." Angelo says, "It's just an engagement now. We'll think about the marriage later," and leaves. Aunt comes and explains again, "Yuri loves you, and you know him. He's not a bad guy. I even brought your ring with me today. Just get this engagement done. If you don't want to marry him later, don't. But right now, only you can save this family." With no real option, Jay quietly agrees. On the other side, Watson is sitting in a corner, gulping down drink after drink, feeling like he's lost Jay forever. Ella comes and scolds him. "If you really love Jay, you won't say anything? If you just sit here like this, you're nothing but a coward." Hearing that, Watson stands up, walks straight over, and before the elevator doors close, pulls Jay inside with him. Seeing Watson suddenly in front of her, Jay is stunned. He asks just one question, "Do you love Yuri?" Jay can't answer, just stays silent. Watson says, "If you don't answer now, I'm going to kiss you." Still, Jay says nothing because she herself doesn't know who she truly loves. In the end, Watson stubbornly kisses her, and shockingly, Jay doesn't push him away, she kisses him back. Right after that, the engagement flashes through her mind again and guilt chokes her throat. So, are goodbyes going to be like this? Watson kisses her again as if to say he really, truly loves her and can't imagine anyone else in her place. Just then, the elevator doors open, and people walk in, so they break apart. In the crowd, even from a distance, Watson's eyes keep searching only for Jay. She goes downstairs and starts crying alone again on one side, the engagement on the other. Her pull toward Watson. She can't handle any of it. Yuri finds her and asks why she came so far away when everyone is waiting for her inside. He takes her up to the hotel rooftop, where the city lights and fireworks look beautiful. Aunt comes and fixes Jay's ruined makeup and brings her back inside, then introduces her properly to Yuri's parents. They're all very happy and like Jay a lot as their future daughter-in-law. Everyone is smiling and congratulating them, but inside, Jay is collapsing. She tells Yuri, "I'm just going to the washroom," and slips away again. In that gap, Watson pulls Jay away one more time to a quiet corner on the rooftop. Jay, irritated, says, "Why do you keep dragging me away like this? Can't you see what's happening right now?" Watson shoots back in a cold tone, "I'm the one who doesn't understand what you're doing to me. How am I supposed to just stand there and watch you marry someone else in front of my eyes? Have you still not understood how much I love you?" There are tears in his eyes. His voice sounds like breaking glass. "I'll face everyone, everything, even Yuri. I don't care. I just want you by my side. Your eyes already tell me you love me." Hearing that, Jay goes still. The confusion that's been tearing her apart slowly starts to clear. Fireworks light up the sky in the distance. Everyone is shouting Happy New Year. And Yuri is still inside the party waiting for Jay because he knows how much she loves watching fireworks. And at that exact moment, Jay doesn't hesitate anymore. She steps forward and kisses Watson on the lips. This time there is no doubt. Watson pulls her into his arms and kisses her back, understanding that Jay has truly fallen in love with him. The sounds, the lights, the fireworks all fade away. The only thing that matters is their decision that whatever storms come, they'll face them together. Downstairs, Yuri's entire family, Jay's family, everyone is enjoying the fireworks and exchanging New Year's wishes. Everyone is thinking that today, the bond between the two families has been sealed, and only a happy ending lies ahead. But Yuri is standing in a corner, looking at the clock and the door. The person he was supposed to watch the fireworks with isn't coming. While everyone outside is happy, inside Yuri is shattering into pieces, though he doesn't show it to anyone. And at that exact time, while everyone is making plans around her, Jay has already made her own choice. She will choose Watson. Because both of them love her deeply. But after all the push and pull, all the chaos, Jay has realized her heart beats the loudest when it hears Watson's name. So tonight, she has reached for Watson's hand, not Yuri's. And that's where season 1 of the drama ends under the New Year's fireworks, with their kiss, and with Yuri standing alone in the party hall downstairs, heartbroken. In season 2, we'll find out whether Jay actually goes through with the engagement to Yuri, or if everything falls apart. In the end, who will Jay marry, Watson or Yuri? And whose love will prove to be the truest, Watson's or Yuri's? For that, we'll have to wait for the next season. Don't forget to let me know how you liked the drama, and if you enjoy my stories, make sure to like and comment to stay with me. Now I'm leaving, but I'll see you soon with a new drama story. Until then, take care of yourselves.